Hi. Mic check, mic check. Make sure the mic is good. Make sure there's no echo. All right. Looks like we got everything set up. What's up, you guys? Good. All right, you guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Real Nathan Daly, and we're here with a very unique episode. We're going to be reacting to this Jubilee video. We just got done talking about Brandon Tatum, and he popped up again this week. And this time specifically over police matters. They talk about some conservative things, some political things. We're not going to dive into any of that. You guys know this is not a political pundit podcast, but I do like to cover specific things related to politics because there's always this cross-pollination as it relates to policing the black community or police issues. It always segues into policies, racism, constitutional violations. And so we cover that over here on this channel. You guys, I don't shy away from the conversation. Listen, I'm gonna be quite honest with you. Some people on this channel their feelings gonna get hurt tonight. All right. I'll tell you that right now, there's gonna be some hurt feelings because this is a very sensitive topic to black people. All right. Anytime you talk about policing, you talk about race, you talk about the historical context, the historical setting, the tragedy, the horrific history of this country, and even some of the current discriminatory cases that take place, racist behaviors of people in this country. These things still go on to this day. Hell, we still have sundown towns in this country. We still have black people being lynched in this country to the point to where no one can tell the difference between black people committing suicide versus them being murdered. So again, it's a shame. However, we have to have these conversations. All right, we got to have these conversations. So as people are coming in, please go ahead and make yourself comfortable. We're going to be reacting to the Jubilee video. This one ex-cop versus, I think it's 20 liberals. I don't know why anybody would want to subject themselves to this. It pains me to watch some of these episodes by Jubilee. But definitely, hopefully fair use. We don't get any issues by sharing this video and reacting and giving our perspective. As you guys know, like any other stream, I'm going to allow you guys to come up and give your thoughts. There's going to be a lot of, again, uncomfortable truths and reality as we are discussing this. And I just ask for your patience as we get through it. This was a very difficult debate to watch. It didn't seem like a debate to me. It seemed like a bunch of arguing, yelling, both sides talking over each other, nonsensical statements being made, a lot of emotional arguments being made. There was only a few people on here where you actually could hear a conversation worth listening to. And, at the end of the day, like on the thumbnail says, who won? There are no winners in this conversation. There is absolutely zero winners. We got nothing out of this, right? Because unfortunately, the conversations fixate people to the past, right? Instead of conversations on how to progress, instead of conversations on what needs to change, what type of things can we do as individuals as well as a group, and what things can the government or this nation do in order to help us progress forward, and then who bears the brunt of that, the responsibility, right? Who bears the brunt of that responsibility, you guys? At the end of the day, I say this all the time as we get into this, as you guys are coming in, rolling in. Listen, this is going to be a very, very difficult stream for some of you. Bless your heart. We got to get through it. However, this is not the airport. You do not have to announce your departure, okay? A lot of times people join this channel and they like an episode of something that I did and they love the way I break it down. And then another episode comes out with something that they're highly sensitive about and they can't handle the truth. Okay, we do facts over feelings over here, which is why people love this channel. All right, we keep it real. All right, we keep it all the way real. And I don't get it all right all the time. However, feel free to come up and school me if you can. Okay, I leave it open for you guys to come up and have the discussion. If you disagree, tonight's going to be disagreement night. All right, I want to hear from those who disagree with the things that are being said and want to challenge those things. You're more than welcome. It's open. What are the rules on this channel? You have to come up on the platform. Your camera has to be on. You got to be sitting still and you got to be focused, and we'll have the conversation. All right. So they have a discussion not just about conservative values. They bring up the historical context of this country, and they talk about why black people are being set back today, right? How systemic racism and racism is the thorn in black people's side, and that this is destroying our communities. White people are responsible for everything, and we can't get ahead because of white people. We can't get ahead because of systemic racism. We can't get ahead because wealth was taken from us, our homes were taken from us, redlining. You guys, you hear all of the explanations as to support their argument. And I would argue that this was less about one cop versus liberals versus this was more like, this is more about, does racism exist and racism impacts black people, go, right? I feel like that's what this was more about. I was hoping to see more law enforcement questions, and I didn't see that. There were a lot of statements made about policing that I think Brandon did a good job at. There are a lot of things that I felt like he did horrible at. I don't see Brandon as a debater, right? And if you're not a debater, you really don't need to be on this show, right? Because again, you're going against people who swim in their ideology. Okay, they live in it, they soak, they marinate in their ideology, and you cannot move them, right? So there's a lot of bad faith arguments. People don't want to listen. It's, you know, at the end of the day, my problem with these type of discussions is we don't get anything out of it. All right. Why do I say that, you guys? I'm a man of solutions. Okay, I'm a problem solver. I don't like excuses. I'll listen to the explanations, but at the end of the day, I'm going to turn around and say, now what? And so after listening, I had to suffer through it. I've listened to it for 3 days, you guys. It was tough. Okay. It's tough. I do not listen to a lot of these debates on here because it's unproductive. Okay. It's unproductive. And what you get is a lot of people who want to come here and vent, complain, and they want to argue, they want to be seen, they want gotcha moments, okay? Whereas there are people who are curious about the topic who actually want to hear what people have to say, and they want to get some understanding. I believe people come to this channel here for understanding on police practices and ideas, you know? And you may not like some of the things that I say, but then people respect it, right? All right. With that being said, let's talk about it. All right, let's talk about it. One of the biggest things about talking about race relations, especially in this country, is that a lot of people believe that this doesn't impact, you know, white people. That white people are immune to these issues. Okay, and some would argue, or some who only see color, I call them color justice warriors. They look at these type of situations and they think that this does not apply to white people, okay? And that's so far from the truth. It's so bad. It's so bad. I had to create what we all know on this channel is my White People 2 folder, okay? I had to create a White People 2 folder, and in that folder, I simply collect data and information to help show black people that this too happens to white people, all right? It's a damn shame we got to do that. But, you know, I'm in the business of educating. All right. And I'm not here to convince anybody, but we are definitely here to change perspectives. All right. Woo. Y'all ready? Let's get into it. I got my apple juice here and I am, got a little kick to it. All right. All right, where we at? So I'm going to skip around everybody. We don't need to go over. We don't need to look at everybody's conversation because it doesn't apply to what we want to talk about here. Like I said, a lot of it is heavily political based. Like We don't like conservatives. Conservatives are racist. That's false, right? Like, you don't like racist conservatives, but conservatives and conservative values within themselves are not racist, okay? You guys, this conversation requires maturity. All right, I'm gonna just say that before we get started, because there's gonna be somebody eventually in the comments that's gonna have a hard time. All right, so we're gonna start off at the 27th mark. Like I said, I don't think Brandon did his best in this debate at all. He allowed himself to get dragged into nonsensical arguments, and when he should have, kind of like let it slide. You can't argue with some of these people. You got to just let them move on. So we're gonna first. Well, let me see this. Like, for example, claim number one: Trump and Republicans are better for the black community than Democrats, right? So that's one of the discussions that they had. I don't even want to get into that. Here's what I'll say about this before we jump forward. Okay, I'm not even going to get into that, but this is what I'll say. If you predominantly vote for a particular group, and for years, like Atlanta, over here where I'm at, okay, it's been historically Democrat for, I want to say, almost 15, maybe 20 years. Someone had to fact check me, but it's a long time. They haven't had a Republican. And there's a decline in results, okay? And your leadership is all Democrat, all black, all this, and stuff is dropping. All right. So I'm the type of person, the proof is in the pudding. All right. At the end of the day, sometimes you got to try something different. And, but it's hard to convince people, man. What my saying is, it's easier to fool a person than tell them they've been fooled. And I feel like that's the issue with a lot of black people in this country, where they predominantly throw their vote in one direction. And it's not that you throw your vote in one direction. It's that you don't command anything for that vote after you give it, right? You're not forcing people, you're not holding these politicians accountable for not carrying out your will. When you vote for a candidate, okay? When you vote for a candidate, it's your job, okay, to enforce your will through them. Your desires, expectations of your community, education system, your healthcare system, all of that in your community, it's your responsibility to hold them accountable. But unfortunately, you guys, a lot of us are not accountable of holding politicians accountable. Why do I say that? Because you vote them back in. All right? You vote them back in. And because that we are politically ignorant in how we go about the politics in this country, we don't get the results that we desire, and we allow these politicians to bait us into racial arguments instead of productive arguments. And that, to me, is the issue, right? I don't care who you vote for. I'm voting for whoever can carry out my will as a community, right? It doesn't matter. Red, blue, doesn't matter. Who can do it? Who can get it done? And I think that's the mentality black people need to take, that I'm giving my vote to who can get it done. And I need to see some results, okay? Or you're out of here. All right? You're out of here. And if you're not operating with that mentality, color doesn't matter, okay? Color doesn't matter. So I think that's, black people, we need to become more colorblind as it relates to politics, and be focused on, are these things being executed? And if you line them up and say, hey, I've been voting you in back to back, and here are the things that we wanted, and you haven't executed them. Well, I don't really care. I don't really care what color skin you are, or what party can get it done. Okay. That's what that's where our mindset needs to shift. Make your own party. Okay. Get your own party. What color? Who cares? Okay. You call it the neutral party, and bring up your own people. And guess what? Tell them, this is what I need you to do. All right. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Welcome in. As you get in, get comfortable. Hit the like button. Hit the hype button. If the hype is ready, hype it up. All right. This is going to be a very, very interesting stream tonight. There's probably going to be some feelings hurt. Listen, I need everybody to put their maturity thinking cap on. All right. And like I said, this is not the airport. You don't have to announce your departure. Bless your heart. Feelings going to be hurt tonight. Why? Because anytime we talk about race and politics on this stream, on this channel, people get their feelings hurt. we're not. We focus on being pro-truth here, okay? Pro-truth. All right, and you can be pro-black, but being pro-black doesn't mean you have to be anti-white. We love all people over here. All right, all people are welcome here. We don't censor over here, but we do keep it honest. We do keep it real. All right, tuck your heart in your chest. Tuck your heart in your chest. Someone said, "I'm observing." You know what that means? The crown prince is gonna act up tonight. He acting up tonight. He said, "Listen, he said I'm gonna keep my good eye on you." All right. Man, there's so much to talk about. We're gonna talk about the Tulsa. We're gonna talk about the Tulsa massacre. Yeah, I mean, you know, he's out of his element, you guys. Brandon's out of his element. I feel like they're trying to cultivate him into the next Candace Owens, but man, Candace is sharp, man. She's sharp, hater, lover, whatever. You know, she's sharp, she's witty, you know, she's very intelligent, she's very well read, well studied. And she doesn't like to lose. When she gets in these debates, I mean, she is good. Okay, she's a good debater, in my opinion. And so I think Brandon was out of it. He's definitely out of his element here, and talking about politics to this degree, to this level. You know, I don't even like talking about politics like that. I just know what I see, you know, and understand what I understand. But all right, so yeah, so we're not even going to talk about this. We're going to just jump on because I already said my spill about black, you know, conservative versus Democrat. We're not even going to even hash over that. So we're going to the 27th mark. Where we at? Because some of these people, this is what I'll say, too emotional. We're not getting into all this emotional ranting. We're just not. We're starting at 27 mark. And do police officers do more good in the black community, guys? All right, so let's go ahead and dive into it.
Good in the black community than harm.
KIKOFF.com/surrounded. Must sign up via kickoff.com/surrounded to activate offer. Offer applies to new kickoff customers first month only. Subject to approval. Offer
And what?
Good in the black community than harm.
All right, if you would like to be the next debater, get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
I want to hear why you think that police do more good in the black communities than harm.
Well, when you look at the functionality of law enforcement, meaning that the people who perpetuate crime in the black community are arrested by law enforcement officers, removing them from the community, removing the predators, the drug dealers, and all of that from the community, which is a good thing. And I cannot name other things that are harmful that outweigh all of the good that the police officers do.
How did the police first come about?
But you be more
Slave
detailed.
patrol.
That's
patrol,
not true.
Yeah, it's
the police.
literally
That's
true.
two different functionalities. They can fact check it.
He said, fact check it. Okay, we're off to a good start. I've had this discussion on this channel before. You guys can search up on the channel about slave patrol. And this is the fact check. So let's read the fact check. Let's hear what the fact check says, and then I'm gonna give you my thoughts, all right? It says slave patrols were a foundational precursor to policing in the South. I want to be very clear about this, all right? Let me minimize so you guys can see the fact check, all right? Let me take down this crime classroom banner. Hold up. 1 second. All right. This is the problem. I like how they did put policing in the South, where they enforced slavery by capturing escaped enslaved people, suppressing resistance, and policing black life. In the North, modern policing grew more from night watch systems and port and city patrols. Northern policing was not racially neutral. However, as officers also enforced fugitive slave laws and other discriminating controls over black people. So here's the truth. He's wrong, you guys. He's wrong. He's absolutely wrong. Policing did not start from slave patrol. That is false. It's false. And I will say, more than it being false, it's not accurate. Okay, it's not accurate. Prior to slave patrols, you had the sheriffs, you had the night watchmen. Okay, these all started from these were guards. Remember, policing itself started from overseas. Okay, this was all the way up in Europe. Okay, England. Okay, they had policing. When they came out here in the 13 colonies, they had guards that were guarding these colonies. These were colonies at first. They turned into communities. They turned into towns. They had watchmen. They had night watchmen. From there, they had sheriffs. And so before policing even cultivated into what we have it today, what happened was in the South, they had slave patrols. This is true. This is a fact. All right. And the slave patrols, as they evolved in the South from you had slave patrolmen who went into policing. When policing began to get established throughout the country, they basically was like, well, I could do this job, you know, and then they applied, right? So they had in history in the South, you guys, this is unique to the South. And it started, I believe, in South Carolina. Okay, it was like one of the first cities. Okay, so again, when people make the argument and they make the statement, they say policing began from slave patrol. That's false. All right. And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to defend policing. I'm saying it because we need to be accurate when we make these statements, because all too often when we want to make a racial argument, when we want to try to defend or to highlight or weaponize these things against white people or the power structure, as people like to put it, when we try to make an example or make a statements that are impactful, and when we're pushing against policing, because people who don't like the police, they'll say, well, I can't trust the police because y'all started from slave catching. Okay. And what happens is you have misguided, miseducated people who like to repeat things that they've heard somebody that they respect or that they revere, okay, in the color justice space. All right. Where they say something catchy, where they say something that stirs up that emotional pot inside them. And then they take it and they repeat it to other people. And that's the problem. A lot of these statements lack context. It lacks understanding because people aren't reading and doing research for truth. They're looking for information to support their bias. Okay. So when I hear this gentleman here and he starts off with policing started from slave patrol, right? And his arguments come from a place of arrogance, right? You're going to hear it throughout the debate where he's like, no, I don't care. I don't care. It's just the truth. Whether you like it or not, it's the truth, you know? And you get into a thing where I'm now debating and having a discussion with someone who's emotional. You cannot have a conversation and debate with a hyper emotional individual who is thinking and feeling through their argument. Why? Because they can't hear anything. Now you just want to be heard. Essentially, you just want to get your rocks off in this conversation and treat me as your punching bag because I'm the only one that's outside of your echo chamber that wants to hear what you have to say. All right. All right. So this is false and it's fact checked and he's false. All right. So let's be clear. All right. Let's be clear.
The origins
You're talking
of
about
policing,
slave patrols
the
and
origin
modern day
of
policing is completely different.
The origins of policing
not true.
within the United States of America
That's not true.
derive from the slave patrol.
That's
They
not
still
true.
use the same badges.
That's not true.
The same,
That's
the
not true.
stars on the.
That's not true.
Fine. That's
the
fine.
functionality of slave patrols and the jurisdiction
I'm
that
not
slave
talking about the
patrols had
functionality. I'm
versus the
talking about the
functionality and
actual-
jurisdiction of law
it
enforcement
derived
is
from
completely
the
different.
entire premise
That's
of
not true.
slave patrol. That's fine. That's fine.
not
Listen.
true.
Okay. Cool. So
Brandon's correct, you guys. He's absolutely correct on that one. All right. So here we go.
you don't think there's an issue with policing in the black community?
No,
You don't think there's an issue with stop and frisk?
no,
You don't think that there's an issue with like flock cameras and geo tracking?
no.
Got it. Okay,
I think
cool.
that helps eliminate crime.
Sure. Have you ever heard of the Bell?
All right. So he named stop and frisk. He said, do you think there's an issue with policing in the black community? Brandon's like, no. Of course, Brandon's going to say no to all these. Okay. Let me keep it real. How do I feel? There's not an issue with policing. There's not an issue with the flock system. There's not an issue with stop and frisk. What is the issue? The issue is the abuse of police authority. The issue is the abuse of stop and frisk. And the issue is the abuse of the flock system cameras. Okay. That's the issue. Policing is not the problem. Okay. Bad policing is. All right. Policing isn't the issue. Stop and frisk is not a problem. It's officers who abuse stop and frisk, which is the problem, right? So I think those things, again, when you're having a good faith argument and you're really being honest, you should be able to distinguish between the two. All right. And then we can dive into why do you not like, my question would be, why do you have an issue with stop and frisk. This is what I would ask him in a debate. What is your issue with stop and frisk? What is your issue with the flock system? And what is your issue with the police? Let's find a baseline so we can have a discussion, because now Brandon's coming off as if Brandon, here's the thing about Brandon. Brandon knows what the real bless his heart. Brandon knows why they don't like these things. He's not going to give them an ounce, an inch, or a morsel, okay, of any type of, he's not going to concede at all to anything. And unfortunately, that's not how you bridge the gap, you guys. I spend a lot of my time bridging the gap. Okay, what do I mean by that? Laying bridges to bring people to connect law enforcement and the citizens and the communities that they serve. All right, that's a big thing that I do. Part of that is understanding what people have an issue with and just being honest. Okay, just being honest. And that's how you start the healing journey. All right, so right now we're already off to a bad start. Brandon's like, nah, ain't no problems. You're the problem, criminal. All right.
Darkness study.
No, I have not.
Okay. The veil of darkness in the black community.
No,
You don't think there's an issue with stop and frisk?
no,
You don't think that there's an issue with like flock cameras and geo tracking?
no.
Got it. Okay,
I think
cool.
that helps eliminate crime.
Sure. Have you ever heard of the veil of darkness study?
No, I have not.
Okay. The veil of darkness study was a study that was completed where 95 million traffic stops were actually checked across the United States of America. Vast pool, right? The methodology accounted for the time of day, for traffic, location, different shifts. Would you like to know what they found in that study when it came to policing and black people?
That black people commit more traffic violations than other people.
No.
That is true.
Black people were stopped for more
Why?
traffic violations. Hold on, I got you.
Because they commit more
I got
traffic
you.
violations.
You don't know the study. How are you going to answer?
I know what other studies and statistical data points show.
Okay, then give me another
That's
study
why.
that
That's
actually.
why.
Oh, sure.
You
Let me
think they
finish.
just
Let me
pulling black
finish.
people over just because they see a black person driving down the
Literally,
street? That's
the
not
Veil
true.
of Darkness
You
study.
have no evidence.
The Veil
for that.
of Darkness
None.
study that was done by Stanford and backed up by the CDC actually showed that what happens is during the day, police officers use racial bias because they
That's
can
not true.
see
That's
people
not true.
and they pull people.
I'm
going to finish my sentence.
made a traffic
I'm
stop in your
literally going to
life.
finish. I'm literally going
I'm
to
gonna let you finish.
They pull black people over during the day at a disproportional rate than white people, but at nighttime, when you can't see and it's harder to tell someone's actual race, then the average drops and it equals out.
Okay, let
They
me tell you
actually
why.
found that in the study, 95 million traffic violations, that when you can't see someone's race, you focus on
Let
the
me-
traffic violations
Let me,
versus
let
the
me
day,
tell you why
you
your
focus on
let
the
me
people.
tell you why your study is flawed. For one reason, I was a police officer many years. I do traffic stops during the day, and you cannot always tell the race of a person during the day, no matter what. Secondary,
I agree.
They're secondary. When you are patrolling, majority of the black people that you engage with live in what? Black communities.
Over police.
So you're going to make excuse. We can get to that.
I'm not making an
You're
excuse.
making
I'm
an
just
excuse.
telling you.
When you're in a
These-
black community, you only have options to pull over
Give me
black people.
any type
Now,
of
let me finish.
empirics that
Let me-
disagrees with the Veil of
let
Darkness
me-
study.
Let me finish.
All right. Whew. All right. The Veil of Darkness study. Listen, this is my first time hearing about it as well. And when they did this discussion, I had to look it up. But even before I even looked it up, I had issues with that study. All right. The problem is when you do these type of studies, you guys, and you're not consulting with law enforcement for context. The context matters 100%. And Brandon's he's gonna share some of his context, but again, it's missing a lot of real understanding. I think the concept of the Veil of Darkness study is a good idea to highlight a potential concern that people have. The concern is when it's daytime, police officers are stereotyping, right? They're discriminating against black people because they can see them. And then at nighttime, because they can't see them, the amount of black people get pulled over drops. Now, for someone who is completely ignorant of police policies, procedures, tactics, and strategies, and just overall not even aware of the job and how the job works, would come to that simplistic conclusion that the reason why there's less black people getting pulled over at night is because they can't see them. That's right. Let's run with that. Right? There's so many problems with that understanding, the acceptance of that understanding. That study within itself, and I haven't even read the study, I can tell you right now it's problematic. There's so many variables that have to be considered. One, and Brandon's going to talk about it, you can't assume what the officer is thinking. You cannot account for that. All right. Also, Brandon made a statement, said black people commit more traffic violations. I don't know if that's true. I never really looked into that, so I can't speak to that. But one of the biggest problems with that study is it looks like this data was taken nationwide. You guys, you can't do that. All right. Every city, every state is different. You got to look at the demographics of the area that you're in. Is it predominantly black? What's the demographic makeup? What's the percentage of black, white, Hispanic, Asian? All that matters. What community specific area that you're talking about? You cannot take data for this type of study. You cannot take 95, what do you say, million traffic stop studies? You guys, that is a poorly crafted study. I'm not going to lie. I don't even need to read it to tell you that that is the worst way in order to interpret this or to try to identify this type of problem, right? And then come to the conclusion that based on this, you believe that there's more discrimination in the daytime. Let me tell you something. You have to look at things like what is the actual population? Okay, what's the demographic layout in that area specific to what your state, city, county, okay, town, all that's important. What's the other thing you need to consider? From a police perspective, what does the manpower look like? You guys, in almost all departments I know, there's heavier manpower when? In the daytime. Why? Because the population is greater during that time. Not only that, you guys, at nighttime, there's less officers working. This is a fact across the board in a lot of police departments. See, so these variables need to be factored in. Why do I say that? If there's less officers, there's less traffic stops. Also, the amount of people driving at night, afternoon, what time of the day are you referring to? If this study is predominantly done in the daytime during rush hour, business hours, where people are trying to get to work, the numbers are going to be different, right? At nighttime, when it's dark enough, you're talking about after 7, after 8, of course you can't really see, but there's less officers working. The type of crimes at night are different than the types of crimes in the daytime. All right, you got to analyze all these things. This is not a good, well-crafted study. It just isn't, because you can't account for all these nuances. What's the other issue outside of the officers being heavier during the daytime? You guys, there is a specific tactic. Police departments enforce traffic violations, or they enforce traffic violations a lot more during the daytime than they do on the nighttime. Okay, meaning that there's a concerted effort. And a lot of major departments, they have traffic units. Those traffic units only work during the daytime. They work in specific areas. A lot of big departments. So you have to look at all those variables, is what I'm saying, right? Someone said you haven't read the study but have many problems with it. I wouldn't need to read the study to understand that the study isn't crafted properly. Okay? You just don't. Every study isn't meant to be used and taken for the gospel, right? And again, the argument that he's making, there's no way that study can account for all those variables is my complaint. There's no way. It doesn't make sense, right? You cannot account for those things. It's not a well-crafted study because you cannot anticipate. The biggest thing is you can't assume, right? You cannot assume that those officers actually looked at the drivers before they pulled them over. Now you're assuming. You made a study assuming. How did you get that information? The biggest part of your study is the officer's decision making. So you mean to tell me they sat there and they interviewed the officer and the officer's like, yeah, he was black and I didn't have a reason to pull him over, but I saw his skin color and I said, let me go ahead and do it. You mean to tell me they found 95 million people? Where did you get the information from? I don't have to read the study to tell you that the study is BS. The study is BS, dude. I'm telling you, that doesn't even make any sense the way it was crafted. Again, all right? And so I read the summary of it, but I did not read the study, meaning that I need to understand how they did it. And I believe it was 100 million traffic stops that they examined. And again, the fact that they examined across the U.S. is a problem by itself. Already, it's a bad study, okay? Now, if they would have crafted that in a local area, a town, an area where they've had issues with racial profiling and things of that nature, That's one thing when you can narrow it down to a specific state, a city, but they're taking data from around the US. Absolutely not. You cannot do that. There's just too many variables to take in count. Then you also got to look at, guess what? There's black officers in some departments too. So are you also incorporating the ethnicity of the officer? All right. Because at the same time, just because the officer is black doesn't mean the officer is also not using those same discriminatory practices, right? Or profiling. All right. And here's another thing I'll give you. And again, I'm giving you the perspective from an officer. There are times that what catches my eye is not the driver, but the car. The car. Okay. So you could say officers profile vehicles as well. So again, what I said earlier is that when you don't consult with law enforcement when you're doing a study, you're not going to properly look into things that you should be looking into to understand the best way to go about doing the research. Because any officer would tell you, hey, you need to narrow that down to maybe a state at best, all right, or a city. Because what am I looking at? You guys, I would look at vehicles. I'm like, ooh, there's a Dodge Charger. Let me see what it does. All right. The next question is, you're also assuming that the officer is looking for the skin color and then following the car and waiting for a violation to occur. That's another thing. All right. So, and here's the other thing. And Tatum, I think, he makes this point, which is a valid point. You guys, you're also assuming that every single traffic stop, because here's how I would break it down. What type of traffic stop is this? Okay. Are these traffic stops where the violation, the officer is behind the vehicle, or the violation occurred when the officer is on the side of the vehicle and the vehicle is driving past? The question is, how was the officer able to see the racial makeup of the driver? How? The only time I could tell if I'm behind or about to pull over somebody that's, be able to determine their ethnicity is I had to either drove past them, they had to be aligned somehow, or they drove across from, like, in front of me as I'm at a light or something like that. Outside of that, or I ran their tag, and before these systems, I had a system where I can run the tag and the owner of the vehicle, the license plate, and not license plate, but your driver's license photo will come up. Okay. So again, I'm just saying that there's more to it. Okay, it's not that simple. Case in point, let me give an example before we move on to this, because I think it's such a great point. Again, I want to focus on the police questions as relates to these debates. Because the determination is, this is racial profiling. We had an incident in my jurisdiction when I was policing and it made the news that this city was a small city that was annexed, and they made the news for racial profiling, saying that they were writing speeding tickets to too many black folks. Okay. Like, that was the argument. It made the news. It was a big deal here in Atlanta. And black folks, they had a town meeting. They're complaining, hey, every time I come here, I'm getting pulled over, blah, blah, blah. They were getting pulled over for speeding. Okay. They were speeding. Let's be clear. They were speeding. No one was arguing that they weren't speeding. The argument was that they were being targeted because they were black. So when they pulled all the tickets, the traffic tickets, it was like 99% of them were black, African Americans. All right. So it looked bad on paper. It looked bad. So then guess what they had to do? They had to start investigating, you guys. You know what they did? They looked into how many people actually traveled down that road. It was a long road. It was a slope. It went down. So the police would sit at the bottom of the hill. It was tacky. I'm not gonna lie. It was some BS. And you were going downhill, so everybody was speeding, right? Because you would just let gravity take you on, and they were just lighting people up, boop, 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 boop. And so they were passing out tickets for speeding, and the speeding tickets were legit. It was just extra, okay? It was an extra department, I'm not gonna lie, all right? But people said that the reason for it was because of race. And then they looked at it, all black folks, cool. Well, when they did the research, guess what they found? They found that in that community, over 99% of the people who lived in that area who took that road, this was a back road used to get off the main road so people can get home. Well, 90% of people who took that side road, where the police were hanging out at, they were all black. They went out there and counted every car that went by. It was all black, you guys. all black. The majority of people who went down that, used that road, were African Americans.
I believe it.
All right. Why do I say that? So this is what happened when they did the research. What's the other thing that they found out? They found out that traveling down that little side piece, all black people, there was no racial bias. There was no racism. There was no racial reason behind them doing it. You know why they end up going over there and writing speeding tickets? Because this is a white department and a black community. You know what happened? You know what they found out and what made them dismiss the complaint, you guys? It was that the community that lived in that area and lived on that street were constantly calling and reporting violators who were speeding up and down that street because because they were going to and from work and they couldn't get out into the lane of traffic because people were flying down that hill every single day, you guys, every single day to try to make it back home. All right. And so because of their complaints to the police department, guess what they did? The police department stationed officers there every single day to write what? Speeding tickets. So the department said, hey, we didn't even know this was a problem until the community of black people complained on the violators. And their response was they put police there to address the problem. Why do I say this is important? Because when you have people like this on this screen right here debating the issue, and they say that the police involvement is over policing, you know what I remember as a police officer policing the black community is that there's a community, the majority of people in the community, in the black community, are good people. They work hard, they come home, they want to take care of their family. And you have a pocket of small individuals that are terrorizing the community. And those good people, the good folks in there, are calling, complaining on the bad folks, right? And sometimes in some of these communities, you guys, the crime is so bad, it's so bad, okay, that they station officers like myself in those communities to ensure that the crime stops. And what that translates to, color justice warriors, people who are very emotional and people who don't like the police, they consider that over policing. But the people who live in those communities want those officers there. And so that's how that claim of discrimination and racial profiling and an area next to my department was completely demolished when they learned that the citizens of that community who lived there were complaining on the people speeding in their neighborhood. And that's what led them to put the officers there who were writing the tickets. And it just so happened that everybody speeding happened to be black down that street. And it just so happened 99% of people traveling on that road were actually black. You guys, what was the real issue? And this is what's going to really summarize a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight. There's black people in this country that do not like taking authority or being held accountable by people who have white skin. At the end of the day, you guys, that's what a lot of this comes down to. And this isn't to dismiss racism or systemic issues or the historical issues. We're not talking about that right now. All right. What we're talking about, there are some black people who don't care if they're wrong. They don't care about anything. They care about who is saying the thing. Okay. That's what the problem is. All right. And so that's when we start getting to these arguments and these discussions and this complaining you're hearing, that you're going to hear a lot of complaining and whining tonight on this stream. And it's really, when you really unravel everything, it's, I don't want a white man telling me that. I don't want a white man telling me to get out the car. I don't want a white man writing me a ticket. I don't want a white man telling me to hands up. Okay. I don't want a white man taking me to jail. Period. I don't care if I'm wrong. I don't care. And that's what a lot of this stems down to, is a lot of black people do not want to be held accountable by a white authoritative figure. Okay. When you really start unraveling this problem. And that's what I noticed as a police officer. And again, that's not dismissing, not saying racism and racist officers don't exist. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that some of these nonsensical people, okay, it's rooted in an idea that it's not about what's being done, it's who's doing it. It doesn't matter if they're right. Okay, a lot of times you'll see I've had situations where suspects are like, I don't want a white man putting handcuffs on me. Is there a black officer? All right. If it's a black officer, I'll let him handcuff me. Okay. That's how deep this thing gets, you guys. Okay. Shout out to my big homie. Shout out to my big homie in the chat. What's up? What's up? What's up? Dre Day. Every day is Dre Day. Shout out to my boy. All right. All right. Let's continue on.
That there's clearly a flaw in what you're saying this study represents.
Sure.
Because
How can you
in the
critique the
black
methodology if
community,
you haven't looked at it?
in the black community, I have plenty of other
You got trust me, bros.
touch. I did it for a living.
Yeah, that's cool
And
story,
you did not.
bro.
So
Like I've looked
and
at the information.
I'm telling you
Do
why the
think
study. I'm
your-
telling you why the
Do
study
you
is
think your
wrong.
one-off experience is
no, no.
indicative of all policing around the country?
I'm telling you why your study is off. When you're looking at patrolling in black neighborhoods, you cannot. How are you going to make a fair comparison of how many white people pulled over versus black people when there's only black people present in the black neighborhood? The veil of darkness cannot get in the minds of a police officer and determine whether or not the police officer pulled a person over because their color or the violation.
It literally
does
shows.
not-
If you look at the
doesn't
data
get
set,
in the
if
mind
you look at the
and
data set,
prove that a cop
cool.
was looking at a black man
If you
and
look at the
racially
data set of the
targeting
Veil
him.
of Darkness study, it shows not only the reason why they were pulled over,
How
but
do-
it
how
shows
do
the
you know
ones
the
that were
reason why
thrown
how
out.
do you know the
They
reason
were
why they pulled over?
disproportionately
No,
pulled
no,
over.
disproportionality
and disproportionately
does not
pulled
speak
over,
to whether or
and
not
there
it's
was a
malicious.
disproportion of black violations that were thrown out.
It doesn't matter.
Why?
People get on here and they just want to be heard. Okay. It goes from, we're talking about traffic stops. They're going back and forth, having the discussion. Tatum is he's highlighting some good points, but he's not articulating them in a way. And again, you have someone who doesn't want to listen. Okay, so you're battling with this thing where you really want to have Tatum really wants to have the discussion, but the person wants to argue with him because now he goes from you know what we can account for white supremacy. It's like, dude, how old are we? All right, can we stick to? I would say, hey, listen, when you're debating people, first of all, let's stick to one topic at a time. We can talk about white supremacy and policing or however you want to go about it. But as far as this, let's go ahead and get this one situated before we move on. You see a lot of this grass hopping around topics when something does not fit. Okay, when they're not feel like they're getting the traction or getting the claps that they want to get. All right. And again, that's why I said these conversations on here are so unproductive because again, they're good, great topics, but the maturity of the people discussing them it's not there. All right. They're like, some of them were like children, you guys. Listening to this was like listening to kids argue about colors, crayons, and cupcakes. All right. So he talks about white supremacy. Let's see where he goes with this, and then we'll probably skip to the next police one.
It's literally racism. They're literally trained.
You're projecting
to
your
actually
bias.
go through.
Tell me how they're
bias?
trained. Have you been through police training?
No, I have not.
I went through police training.
Sure, cool story.
And they do not teach discrimination
Why is it that
in police
Why
training.
is it that police officers spend more time in black neighborhoods?
They're committing more
disproportionately?
crimes.
They're not.
Yes, they are.
Who commits the most violent crimes in America today?
Per capita, black
Not
people
per
do.
capita, period.
Black people do.
No, white people.
No,
White
it's
men
not- that's-
specifically.
All right, Tatum's dead wrong with that one. Okay, he is super wrong. All right, again, we have another grasshopper. Okay, what he's doing? He's hopping over topics. You can't nail him down to a conversation. We went from policing to white supremacy and being taught. Now we're over here. He's talking about who commits more violence. You guys, let's be clear. White people commit more violent crimes. White people commit more crimes than anybody in this country. All right, that's a fact. Okay, we don't need the fact checker to check that. I don't know what Brandon's talking about. What's the reality? The reality of course they do. There's more white people than black people. Okay. So what's the argument as it relates to this thing? And people like to throw this proportionality thing in to try to make their argument stronger, or disproportionate. You hear that a lot. You're going to probably hear that a lot tonight. Here's the reality. The problem is, based on our population size being black, we commit too much crime for our size. Okay, that's just the reality of it. Okay, and when you really look at it from a proportional standpoint, we commit more crimes. If they do it, they line it up per capita, you guys were doing too much. All right, that's a fact. But it's because our numbers are smaller is why they make that claim. And however, white people are more, so of course they commit more crime. but we shouldn't be neck to neck with white people as it relates to crime being committed because there's less of us, you know. So that doesn't look good, no matter how you want to slice it. So I don't know what Brandon's talking about, you know.
FBI data. Fact check it. FBI data shows that white men specifically commit the most violent crime in the United States of America. If you're talking about property crimes, yes, it's black people.
I'm talking about violent crimes.
Violent crimes is white men, including CSAM. White men, if you could talk per capita with CSAM, you can talk numbers. White men disproportionately represent CSAM and violent crime.
Murder rate and violent crimes disproportionately represent.
Do you believe in 1350?
All right, we're going to have to pause here. So I'm glad you guys took a pause. You have been voted out. Thank you so much.
Give me 10 minutes.
She's making up stats.
If you would like to be the next debater, get to that chair in 3, 2, 1.
All right. Everything I heard, everything I've listened to thus far, I think you're full of shit. You're a police officer.
No, give me an example of what I've said that wasn't true.
Let me get to it.
Give me something I said that wasn't true.
See, here's my issue too, right? How we're going to debate when we start off and you're throwing insults, right? You're throwing insults before we even get started. Again, that's why I said this is not really like a healthy debate format where you can actually learn anything. So, yeah, here we go.
Nobody here would disagree that good policing is bad. We're talking about bad policing. We're talking about bullshit policing. We're talking about the kind of policing that puts gentlemen like you and me in prison for unjust crimes. You like to cite that you're a police officer. Let me cite my professional background. Let me cite my professional background.
I have been in that profession.
10 years writing policy in government.
You weren't a police
officer. And
but you weren't
state of California levels. And
you never arrested anybody.
You didn't write policy. I did.
I enforced the law.
So, okay, I write the law.
But you don't enforce the law.
You don't enforce the law.
You don't enforce
the law appropriately.
You just made it up.
You like to use one-offs. Let me use a one-off.
You don't need to use one-offs. You just made.
I've been voted out by the majority.
We're gonna skip him because that was just a pissing contest. And again, the guy started with a bad faith, and you can't argue people who are going to be emotional. So Brandon nothing you do about that. So what did she say real quick? She said you can't really have correct stats. Most jails list white and black individuals only. That's it. Tarrant County is a perfect example. Yeah, and two, also, you have not all states actually list. You have people who are not white who put themselves as white. Some Hispanics. Sometimes you have just so it's the number is skewed. The number is skewed. It's not accurate for sure, right? Let's just be real. It's not. And stats aren't all the way accurate all the time either. It's to give us an opportunity to really see a particular problem, right? But the way people like to use stats to kind of really support their hatred, their racism, their arguments, their weaponization of things, nah, it's not that deep, right? It's really to highlight a problem so we can dive in to understand it a little bit better and to really kind of unravel some stuff. But people use it to support their arguments, and it just goes too far. But I want to say, is it this guy? What number was it I saved on here? A timestamp. Let me see what he said. I think it's this one.
If you would like to be the
shouldn't exist, right? Or just
give me an example.
Significant laws, right? And I think
concede.
2, 1.
So,
I just want to take a second to acknowledge that you're being roasted and you're being very polite about it. So thank you for that.
I'm doing what?
I say you're getting roasted right now, but you're being very polite about it, and I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you for your conceding to my arguments. Okay.
I wouldn't say that, but okay. So you're familiar with broken window policing, right?
I'm familiar in part.
Yeah, just for people that don't know, it's just a uniform enforcement of both significant and insignificant laws, right? And I think we could both agree that there are laws in this country that shouldn't exist, right? Or just
give me an example, because I can't concede to it if I don't know what you're talking about.
Marijuana.
All right, let me stop him there because he said broken window policing. I've never heard of that. I've heard of the broken window theory. All right. And so that's a criminology theory that talks about how the conditions of a community, right? Like broken windows, abandoned cars, graffiti on walls, like boarded up windows, how the conditions and the aesthetics of a community, how that helps to how would you say, not entice criminal behavior, but influence criminal behavior. There becomes like a lack of care, a lack of desire, or a lack of drive, or essentially your environment, if it's dilapidated, that could essentially create or cause people to manifest deviant behavior. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. All right. So that's the broken window theory, the concept behind it. And it's just a theory. It's a criminal theory, criminology theory. Just basically saying that, like, if you trash your neighborhood and it looks trashy, okay, and think of it like it's bad soil. And if you try to put seeds, good seeds in bad soil, then that will essentially corrupt the seeds. That's kind of the idea. And this concept also, comes from these urban communities where, things are run down, out of place, the lawn's not kept, and things like that a lot of people look at it and then don't have any desire to want to do better because of how things look, okay, and how they interpret that. So that's the broken window theory. And then the policing side of it is like, because police see that as well, they also treat the people there in a negative way because the community itself looks run down. So you automatically assert that assumption on the people as well, that these people aren't really worth quality policing because look at this place. It's a slums. Okay. And so it talks about how psychologically, unintentionally, you might not be a person that discriminates against people, but because of what you're seeing, it's hard for you to put value into something that has lost its value. All right. Does that make sense? And so I think there's a lot of truth to that. All right. I think there's a lot of truth to that. All right. So I don't know the way he put it. He's now talking about laws and stuff. I don't really know what he's saying in reference to that. But when I heard him say that, I was kind of confused. And maybe I misunderstood what he's trying to say. But either way, that's what the broken window theory is.
Conceding to my arguments. Okay.
I wouldn't say that. But okay, so you're familiar with broken window policing, right?
I'm familiar in part.
Yeah, just for people that don't know, it's just a uniform enforcement of both significant and insignificant laws, right? And I think we could both agree that there are laws in this country that shouldn't exist, right? Or just
give me an example, because I can't concede to it if I don't know what you're talking about.
Marijuana, right? Like in the state of Texas, if you're caught with marijuana, you can be a felon, right? I think we can both agree that that's dumb.
I don't agree to that. I mean, people vote on it and they'll pass what the majority believe. I don't agree to that.
Sure.
I think in some cases marijuana should be illegal. I think medical marijuana should be legal. I mean, obviously.
Well, yeah, sure, but based all marijuana, but I think we can both agree that if you have like a felony conviction, that stunts your ability to earn and provide for your family, right?
Yeah, you knew that before you committed the felony, right?
Yeah, but like I think certain laws. Well, first of all,
you're talking felonies. You're not talking misdemeanor. Felonies are very intense things that you do that cause you to get a felony. It's not just having weed on you.
Not exactly. Because if you're caught with a wax pen, right, that can be considered a felony equivalent to if you had like cocaine or something like that.
Depending on what state you're in.
Yeah,
but
depending on the state.
If that's the case, but
right.
you know
but
that before you
as well.
You know that before you do it.
Sure.
And so you make the decision. You make the decision. Everybody in here make the decision. They're not going to do that because you don't want a felony on your record because you want to be successful and be able to get a job. Is that fair?
But
that's personal responsibility.
But let's interrogate.
Hey, shout out to you for clearing that up. So that's interesting. Broken window policing is a strategy targeting minor low-level offenses such as vandalism, public drinking, and loitering to prevent major violent crimes. Okay, so I've heard of this concept. I did not know it was called broken window policing strategy. But yes, this is a real strategy. Again, so shout out to you for putting that up there. That is a strategy that we do use in policing. And it does work. It works. One could probably make an argument, is this the best form of policing? I mean, I don't know. it does work though, right? So, for example, I pull somebody over for a cracked tail light. Okay, it's low level offense, but it yields a great result if the person in that car doesn't have their stuff together. All right. Perfect example is I had a case where I pulled a car over for window tint. One would say that's a low level offense. The ticket is like $25, right? At the time, pulled the car over for window tint. And I got in a fight with the passenger. He ran. I had to tase him. He pulled a knife on me, tried to kill me. He was unsuccessful, thank God. And it took me and my partner to get him in custody. Later found out that he was wanted for 3 counts of murder. I'll never forget that. It's probably one of my highlight arrest reels as an officer. So broken window policing, I think all policing strategies are good until they're abused, right? I think that's the conversation that needs to be had around how are we using these things? Are we using these as probable cause to stop a vehicle, or are we trying to rack up people's debt? You know what I mean? So, but I do understand how people feel about it. I do. But I also have seen the outcome of using it properly. Perfect example, Ted Bundy and Timothy McVeigh were both apprehended due to traffic stops. Yes, very great point. And I think it was it Timothy McVeigh? I think his traffic stop was like a tag light. I think one of these guys didn't have a tag light. And mind you, these guys are white. Okay, these are white suspects. And the police pulled him over because I think he had an expired tag or a tag light. And because of that, he was arrested. So I do see the point. I do see the argument. And I think at the end of the day, the conversation needs to be about abusing police tactics, abusing police strategies. I don't like officers that write 30 speeding tickets a day. Okay, I don't care for them type of guys. So, however, speeding tickets are necessary, right? They're necessary. But those same guys I used to work with who wrote a bunch of speeding tickets, they never found criminals either. Okay, they never caught real criminals. And the folks that didn't want to stop, they never chased them. Right? They get out the car, run. They be like, "Oh, we lost one." So again, I just think we got to have the right conversation about the right problems, if that makes sense. All right. Now, this young man, he's talking about some stuff where he doesn't like all laws. Okay, this is a different argument. This argument is, I don't think everything should be a crime. Why? Because I want to participate in some of these things that are criminal. That's what it is. Talk about marijuana. I don't think marijuana should be illegal. Okay, but it is. Well, I don't think it should be because I like to smoke marijuana. Okay. Someone said radio lost visual. Yeah. So you have people who are like, how come shoplifting is a felony? You know, why don't we do away with this? Why don't we do away with that? Yeah, I hear you. You don't like the law. You don't feel like it should be criminalized. I get it. But it is. And what Brandon is saying is that you're responsible. There's self-agency. You are responsible for following these instructions or following these laws. And if you don't like the risk of the outcome of not following it, then you shouldn't do it, right? If you don't like the risk of what happens being held accountable, it's not anybody's fault. It's not white people's fault. If you decide you want to be a drug dealer, that's not a white person's fault, right? Because you think that marijuana and this vape cartridges and wax, marijuana wax, those things should be legal. That's your opinion. Okay. The state says it's not, so you shouldn't do it. All right. And so I've heard this argument plenty of times before, and it's a bad one.
The central claim, you're saying that police in Black communities do more good than harm, right?
Exactly.
So if you're caught smoking a blunt on your porch and you become a felon for the rest of your life, and then you're relegated to like being like doing menial labor for the rest of your life, right? When you could have had a lot more prospect, isn't that the police causing more harm to your life?
No, it's just don't smoke weed and you won't have to worry about the police.
So are the laws enforced equally across the races?
It is.
No, they're not.
What's your proof? What's your proof to that?
So Black people in this country, right, are statistically found to have been given larger sentences for the same crimes compared to their white counterparts.
See, let me give you some more information to give you a better.
All right, that's true. Okay, that's true. The sentencing discrepancies is real. Okay, that black people are have been given harsher sentences, harsher penalties, longer sentences, disproportionately for the same offenses as white people. That's a fact. That's a known problem in the criminal justice system today. Okay, it still rings true today. All right. This young man is absolutely correct. Let's see what Brandon says.
Perspective. A lot of it is because people have committed multiple crimes before they get to the final crime sentencing. Yes, yes, it is.
Even for first-time offenders.
Give me an example. Where do you see, now here's what, and everybody should acknowledge this. Where do you see in this country a judge? This judge gave a white person a different sentence than a black person in that same courtroom.
Statistically, you can still see that minority offenders are given harsher sentences for the same crimes compared to the white counterparts.
And a lot of times it's because they already have previous charges. I'll give you an example of people that's in my family.
So, the young man is correct. However, Brandon is also correct, but he's not accurate. Why do I say that? There's truth that if you have a extensive criminal history, you are going to be sentenced high. Okay, you're going to be sentenced differently than someone who's a first offender. However, the statistics and the data shows that without a doubt, black people are given harsher sentencing for the same crime as their white counterparts. That's undeniable, non-negotiable. That's a reality. One could argue even with the criminal history being equal, a black person will more than likely get a harsher sentencing. Okay? And I'm not saying all judges do it. I'm saying too many judges do it. All right? And that's a problem. And the issue, though, they try to create these fair sentencing guidelines. But guess what? Black folks don't like that either. So here's what I was taught growing up. If you don't want to go to prison, then don't do the crime. That's how I was taught. I was taught that the criminal justice system is not fair to black folks. That's what my mom and my daddy told me. And it rings true to this day. I'm not saying that when you commit a crime, you shouldn't be held accountable. But here's the other thing that I've seen. I think this surpasses racial lines. I think it also goes in the direction of what your financial status is, right? And this surpasses race, and it also goes into wealth, okay? Because I've seen it competing interests where it's white and white, but this white person got money, influence, power, respect, or they got resources, and this white person doesn't. And guess what? This white person is getting off. Okay, this white person is getting a lighter sentence. I've seen where the white suspect and a white victim, and the white suspect had some family backing and power, and they utilized that same power and influence over their white counterpart. So what does this mean to me? That the corruption, regardless of what it is unacceptable. The unfairness, regardless of what it is. It shouldn't matter if you're a celebrity. It shouldn't matter the color of your skin. It shouldn't matter your age, gender, and if you're cartwheeling on the judge's rod, okay, or the judge's hammer. If you on the judge's hammer, it shouldn't matter. Okay, I've seen it, you guys. All right, and so I've seen cases in the media they put out. Right, I've had to do. I did reactions on some videos involving some white affluent kids or a guy, young man, who sexually assaulted multiple women, but because his family had money, guess what the judge gave him? A slap on the wrist. Okay, and these were white women that he did this to. All right, so again, it talks about how the Lady Justice is not blind. Lady Justice is very well aware of the color green, okay, and black, black and green. So, and that's a problem, and those are the things that need to be weeded out, all right, within our criminal justice system for this system to really truly be fair, impartial, okay. Money is green, that's a fact, okay, and I tell you right now, it. What I see is just like in this Nolan Wells case, is this might not even be about race as much as it's about self-preservation. Okay? Self-preservation. All right.
You know, two people that I know, I'm not going to say what position they're in my family, got 20 years in prison for armed robbery. 25 years in prison for armed robbery. The reason he got 25 years is because he had already committed a robbery. He got 5 years before that. Another one of my cousins got 75 years in prison for shooting 3 people. The reason he got 75 years, and some people didn't get that, because he had already been a prohibited possessor. He was already a convicted felon, and he had drugs in the car. Those contributing factors is what lead many black people who already have a criminal record to being sentenced at a higher rate. You cannot find a judge that gave a black person a higher sentencing than they gave a white person. If you find that judge, I think everybody in here will be against that judge.
Find a judge. We can probably find a judge. I think what we can find is that it's happening within the city, within the state consistently, right? We've seen that just recently with Carmelo Anthony's a good example, okay? You had one kid, the white kid who stabbed the Hispanic kid, all right? And they gave that brother 10, what did he give him, like 10 years or something like that? And that was premeditated, all right? That was real premeditated. And he said he was going to take him out. So I think Tatum is right in his argument that, yeah, your criminal history does matter. What you then have to do now is compare someone who also committed armed robbery, who also shot 3 people, with a white person who committed armed robbery, shot 3 people at a gas station on a lonely night on a Thursday, and say, what did they get sentenced? And the problem is different states have different sentencing guidelines and things like that. It's not universal. You can be in Texas and commit a crime, the same crime you committed in Texas that you committed in or someone committed in California, you're not getting the same time. Democrat states, Republican states, that's a whole nother variable you got to add in too, right? They don't even review, they don't even look at crime and laws the same. All right. So, you know, I would never, I wouldn't be trying to commit certain crimes in a red state. You know, I might have to invite you over to the blue state and make it happen. You know what I mean? So, whew. Anyways.
And I would march and protest a judge that we can find doing that. You won't find it.
All right, we're gonna have to pause here because you've been voted out by the majority. Thank you so much. If you would like to be the next debater, please get to the chair. In 3, 2, 1.
What's up?
What's up, bro?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good.
Let's have some fun. I want to approach this from a place of curiosity, because the thing that troubles me about a lot of the way you structure your arguments is that it seems to suggest to me that you perhaps believe that there's some moral deficit that Black people have that inclines us to commit more crimes.
I don't believe that.
I guess my question is, what do you think that moral lack is?
I don't really think it's a sweeping generalization that every Black person somehow is born inherently evil or inherently a criminal. I think that there's different things that do cause people to fall down a path of committing crimes, which is what their fathers did and what their mothers did.
One might say context and systemic racism. Or
I don't think it has. I think it had much to do with racism.
No.
I don't think it has. Like for instance, we can isolate criminal activity that happened in the Black community that has no hand or involvement from white people.
Yeah.
You know, a young man deciding to grab.
I agree with Brandon 100%, 100% with this statement. So this guy said, he said, I want to just, first of all, this guy, he turns into a nightmare. However, this first question, I think, is a beautiful question. He said, you know, do you believe that Black people have some moral deficit? And Brandon said, no, I don't think that. All right. The question he presented, I think, is a very great question, I think, for Brandon, because people have this notion that Brandon thinks that Black people are just inherently evil. Okay, like that's kind of the sentiment that a lot of Black people have about Brandon Tatum, that he doesn't see any good things in Black people, that he doesn't like himself being Black. Like that's what you hear on social media. I don't think that that's the case. All right, but so this is Brandon answering it, and Brandon saying, and then the gentleman says, you don't think contact with systemic racism has anything to do with the Black issues, okay? The moral issues within the Black community. Brandon's saying, I don't think the white man's hand has anything to do with the stuff that Black people are doing. You guys, I agree with that 100%. Because I think what tends to happen is you get too many black folks who want to explain away their behavior and blame white people for it. I saw it a lot in policing, right? A lot of it. You know, you hear people say the white man's keeping me down. And I'm like, you don't even know any white people, right? I think there's a difference to understanding an overarching problem of a white power structure versus what are you responsible for in your day-to-day activities in life, okay? I think those are two separate conversations. We can talk about the overarching power structure of white people because they're the predominant class in this country. But then we also have to have a separate conversation about what is your day-to-day activities as the individual black person amongst your black friends in a black community operating your black life, okay? And are we actually sharing this accountability properly? Are we assigning fault and blame properly, right? And I think that's where this conversation is going into. Some people say, nah, I would be better if white people had did us better 400 years ago. I would be doing better if white people didn't do the things that they did during Jim Crow, during segregation, right? Without redlining. Today, me right now as an individual 2026, I would be better. I'm always oppressed. White people are always keeping me down. It doesn't matter what I do. Nothing can change because the white man is in my way. All right. So this is how these arguments start to get formulated. And so let's see how Brandon responds to this. Is everybody okay? Is everybody good so far? Is everybody good? It's about to get shaky. It's about to get shaky. All right.
Grab a gun and do a shooting has nothing to do with white people. A young grab a gun, what their fathers did and what their mothers did.
One might say context and systemic racism. Or
I don't think it has. I think it had much to do with racism.
No.
I don't think it has. Like for instance, we can isolate criminal activity that happened in the black community that has no hand or involvement from white people.
Yeah.
You know, a young man deciding to grab a gun and do a shooting has nothing to do with white people. A young man having sex with 5 and 6 women, getting them pregnant and not standing up for his responsibilities has nothing to do with white people.
See, but when you tell stories like that, it seems to suggest that you're saying that black people are responsible for all of that versus these isolated incidents, these mythical isolated incidents that you're bringing up.
I'm saying it's personal responsibility.
So you're saying
there's no white man there.
There's an epidemic of personal responsibility inside the black community.
I agree with
How
that.
do you measure that?
By looking at the effects of it, looking at what black people are doing over time.
So earlier, people have come up and given you a vast number of statistics that indicate systemic racism, inequality, poverty, education. It's happened over and over again. Yet you claim black people have an epidemic of personal responsibility, but you can't give a single statistic that indicates that. How do you measure that?
Epidemic of personal responsibility. You see the outcomes.
Is it the rap music?
If that's one indicator.
Yeah. It's rap music.
It's rap music.
Let the bodies hit the floor. Who wrote that song?
Let me give you an example of why this is different.
So let the bodies hit the floor. I thought this was so interesting. His argument. Again, here we go. Right, we are getting into a zone where we're making these emotional statements. We want gotcha moments. We're listening to argue versus listening to understand. And he brings up a point. Right, Brandon says, like rap music. Okay, we all know the rap music is. A lot of the rap music within black culture is very degenerate. Okay. We can debate that all you want. The facts are the facts. What he is saying, this gentleman is saying is that, okay, what about white music? White music has some degenerate lyrics too. Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. And I would even argue rock music is very demonic. Okay. Very demonic. A lot like rap music. If you really understand what's really going on, a lot of the music is demonic, okay, and unhealthy. And so no one is saying that it's not. Here's the issue that I have is that when we are talking about a particular group, a particular thing, we then want to turn around and try to compare another group. A lot of times when we're talking about black issues, we want to rope in what white people are doing, want to rope in white people did this, white people did, and again, it ends up distracting, deflecting, removing from the conversation. I don't like when people do that because it's disingenuous. and it's a way to derail the conversation. You know what we're talking about. Address the issue that we're speaking about. And people love to do this when they want to make some type of counter argument and think they get a one-up on you. Brandon does this a lot, okay? He himself uses this tactic a lot. And so to see this brother do it to Brandon, it's very interesting because Brandon does it all the time. Anytime someone wants to focus on a police issue about what this police corruption is and the police are shooting and doing that, Brandon will quickly say, well, what about black on black crime? All right. Brandon will interject that as a way to deflect from the topic being discussed. And right here, we see this brother doing the exact same thing, right? We're talking about what things are ailing the black community, right? He says rap music is one of them. It's a part of the problem. He's like, oh, okay, what about let the bodies hit the ground? See, now you're interjecting and you're being disingenuous, right? Because again, we're not talking about white music. We're talking about the things that impact black communities and black people. Yes, the music is a big problem. It is. All right. And so again, no one is saying that white music doesn't have its problems, because it does. I've had kids that I've arrested for robbery, and you talk to them, you're interviewing them after the crime, and they'll tell you, I had to listen to this music to hype me up. I had to listen to this music to get me in the mood. People say things like that all the time. The music is very, very, very influential to us. Okay. So I think it's hard to have these honest conversations when someone is not willing again to listen. So let's continue. Yeah.
Let me give you an example why this is different.
Come on. Let's talk about rap.
And I'm gonna tell you how it has a negative effect on black people.
Yeah.
White people actually listen to rap music way more than black people do. They purchase it more. Mm-hmm. But black people are living the stuff that's in the music. Mm-hmm. White people fantasize of what it may be like to run up on your op and shoot somebody and kill them and go to prison.
Bars. Come on.
And selling dope in the hood to your own people.
Yeah.
Black people are living it. It's a reality. And it's reinforced. You cannot tell me that's not a form of brainwashing.
I've listened to a lot of rap music. You know what I've never done? Shot up a school.
What does a school guy do anything?
I think.
This is kind of his sarcasm, right? And once again, being disingenuous. He said, I listen to music. I never shot up a school. Well, he's referring to white shooters. A lot of majority of school shooters are white. However, again, like I say all the time, we can talk about who shoots in schools. We can talk about who shoots outside the schools. It doesn't matter. Violence is violence, right? Whether it's I could talk about who prefers to shoot up neighborhoods. It's black people. Well, black people prefer to shoot up neighborhoods. White people prefer to shoot up schools. Either way, we have victims. And so that's why we don't do this comparison game, because it's not relevant, right? Both are a problem, right? Mass shooters, no matter where you do it, is an issue, okay? And I just think that it becomes this thing where we're trying to always compete against black versus white, versus are we addressing the issue or are we battling it out? Okay, is this the racial Olympics? Like, who commits the most crime, white or black? Who shoots the most people, white or black? Who does the most school shootings? That's a white thing, not a black thing. Okay, well, who does drive-bys? That's a black thing, not a white thing. You see, we don't get anywhere with that. We don't get anywhere with that. And that's the reason why I have an issue with these type of people who are having these conversations, because they make nonsensical points that distract from the main objective of the conversation, is to get to the problem. And then from that problem, let's find a solution. All right.
You try to create this image.
No,
this is what I mean by you seem to suggest that there's
no negative.
Lack.
You're saying that there's no negative.
There's some kind of lack that causes us to be more prone to violence, but you don't acknowledge any of the historical context.
Are you saying that there's no negative effects of brainwashing yourself about killing your brother and sister and listening to that on a day-to-day basis? There's no negative effect in that.
Right. Why are you posing this as a uniquely black thing? This is like when you make the argument that violence has been a part of art all the time. I write for a living. You know who glorifies violence? William Shakespeare. You know who glorifies violence? Quentin Tarantino. But you don't see anyone talking about, oh my God, there's a response for all the white on white crime, even though there are more white criminals in America than any other race.
We're talking about black people.
Yeah.
Do you think that black hip-hop music, rap music is detrimental to the black community?
No.
You think it has no effect on the psyche of a young man listening to that every day?
No. It's that simple.
I dis.
What a goofball. Can we take a poll real quick? I'm curious to know inside the chat. Let me do this. Let me do a poll real quick. I want to know from you guys. Is rap music harmful to the black community? Okay, is rap music harmful to the black community? I'm gonna put a poll in the chat. I had to get a wireless keyboard because this keyboard stuff is crazy. Let me just say this real quick. Let me just type this up. Is rap music harmful to the black community? I'm just curious what people think. Just let me just throw that in there real quick as we're having this conversation. I would really like your honest opinion. Your honest opinion. You know, it's just, yeah, I would love to, and we can come back and see what people say about that. If you're in the chat and you're listening, is rap music harmful to the black community? I'm talking about today's rap music. Yeah, today. We know the old school rap music wasn't as crazy as it is today. We're talking about today's rap music. Over the last 10 years, rap music. I would really like to get people's honest opinion. Yes or no? You know, is rap music today harmful to the black community? All right. And I think that is a very good poll. Really like to think. I really would like to hear you guys' thoughts on that. And while you guys are taking that, let me go into these super chats and gifts. Shout out to Lynetta Johnson becoming a new member to the channel. I appreciate you so much. Welcome to the club. I appreciate you. Welcome to the club. And welcome to joining us. Shout out to Dolores. Said, I respect you, Nathan. You are level-headed. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Shout out to what is it? Live, Laugh, Love 66 for the 10 jewels. Thank you for that gift so much. I appreciate that. And you came right back again with 10 more jewels. I really, really appreciate you. Applause for that. Thank you, love. Shout out to Great Pill Podcast. That's the big homie right here. I haven't seen him in forever. He said Tatum is a goofy coon. Raccoon. You guys are so bad. People do not like Tatum. Shout out to Great Pill. If you guys get a chance, check out the Great Pill Podcast. A good friend of mine. We've had some great streams, some great crazy streams on his channel. So go ahead and check him out. I think, yeah, people, you know, I did a video about on the last stream about Tatum and kind of my thoughts on him. And I just thought about how he's racially apologetic towards cops and white people. And that's just what it is. He's very apologetic. And, that's him. That's his brand. You know what I mean? But I've had a chance to interview him. He came over and did an interview on this channel. We had a great conversation, great topics. We discussed topics that we did not agree on, talked off screen, great personality. We were having fun, laughing, felt like I was talking to an old officer. And, but his professional opinion on things, I don't agree with a lot of his professional takes on stuff. And, that's just the game. That's just the business, right? At the end of the day. We have different perspectives and we analyze things differently. All right. So it is what it is. That's what makes us unique, right? You don't have two of the same McDonald's, right? You got McDonald's, you got Burger King. This ain't no monopoly over here. We think different. I serve my audience differently. Okay. My meal's a little bit healthier, and that's just the reality of it. Okay. So yeah. All right. So let's get back into this.
Disagree with you on that point. I think here lies the problem.
How would you validate
Because
that?
young
How would you
people-
prove that?
well,
what can be proved is a correlation between poverty and crime, and that can be traced systemically through history. And this goes back to all of the arguments we've made about wealth accumulation and how Black people have been prevented from having that.
Now, how can you associate that to white supremacy?
How can I associate white supremacy and generational poverty? Do you think wealth is inherited?
In part.
Yes. So do you think poverty is inherited?
Majority
too?
of people who are successful.
Yeah, and this is where Tatum ends up getting himself in a trick bag. The reality is Black Americans were robbed of wealth. That's just the reality of it. They were robbed of wealth for generations in the past. All right. They were promised one thing, that thing was taken away. And then systemic laws took place. They were brutalized. Okay. Their properties were taken, stolen, things burned down. It was just a horrific history. You cannot deny that. You cannot deny that Black Americans have been set back because of the policies, the practices, and procedures, okay, of white supremacy. Absolutely. You cannot deny that. Okay. Here's the issue, though. And I think the problem lies with when do we step up, right? When do we make the change? When does this no longer become the excuse? It is now the explanation. And when is it that we actually do the next thing? Okay. What I believe starts to happen, has continued to happen, is that the past is used as a semblance of a crutch, right? Versus a reminder of where we were and then where we are now. What do I mean by that? Unfortunately, you have too many people who continue to use it as an excuse to explain away why we cannot do the part that we need to do for ourselves. And I mean that respectfully. Okay? And at some point, it needs to go from a complaint to this is just the explanation. All right. What's the other issue? The other issue, unfortunately, is that there's still some responsibility that only we can change as a people, that no one else can do. What do I mean by that? That even if we can agree that white people caused the problem, we are all in agreement they caused it. White supremacy and systemic racism is the reason of how we got here, but it's not the reason why we are still here. All right? Don't let that go over your head. What I'm saying is there are things that only we can do. And the reality is you're not going to get white people to fix a problem that they created. And I think that there's a lot of Black people who believe that because you created the problem, it's your responsibility to fix it. I don't think they're going to fix it, you guys. They're not. And quite frankly, they said they don't care. And so now what? And now you're asking the people that you don't like. You're asking the people that you claim are your oppressor. You're asking the people who you say are enforcing systemic racism on you. You're asking these people to educate you, feed you, teach you, hospitalize you, right? What's the real answer? You got to do for yourself. You got to come together. You got to build community. You have to you got to treat each other properly. You got to fix the broken homes. You have to practice group economics. There's so much that you can do to combat the problem, right? And I think we can always continue to reminisce. Okay, we can continue to reminisce, or we can actually do something different. And I think that is where the line in the sand gets drawn between different Black people in this country on how we look at the problem, right? There are some Blacks who no longer use that as a justified excuse to be stagnant. There's some people, some Black people in this country that say, I don't care. You know, it would have just been different if this didn't happen. I'd be different. I'd be better. I'd be somewhere else. And I can't let that go. And there's some people who are living vicariously through their ancestors 8 generations ago. And they don't seem like they'll ever get out of that. It seems like it's just going to just continue to repeat itself within their own generation. That's what I've been seeing. I've seen those who use the history to empower them to do greater things, and I've seen those who use the history to submit themselves to a world and a reality that's not real. All right. Someone said, when did white supremacy and racism end? Well, racism is never going to end. The question is, how does that interfere with what you're doing today? That's the real question. The question isn't that racism ends. There's racist people everywhere. The world is built on racist people. There's the world. And it goes from racism to tribalism. Pick your poison. Colorism. You got the same ethnic groups. Listen, ignorant people are ignorant people around the world. It doesn't change. America's not unique. America didn't invent hatred. Okay? It exists everywhere, you guys. Contrary to what you think, you leave this country, go somewhere else, it's a different type of problem. Okay? It's either colorism, tribalism, racism, all right? All right, you know, socialism. It's either you know, you got money, you don't got money, poor. I mean, it doesn't matter. There's people are being separated, divided by things that are silly. All right. So it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
People in this country do not get passed on generational wealth. A lot of people who are very successful came from nothing. I would argue that almost every black person who is successful came from nothing, which is an example of why capitalism works.
Yeah. Okay. So I went to one of the most conservative high schools in America. It is a very alluring and deceptive delusion to believe that because you live in circumstances that are different from the rest of black people, that somehow you are special.
What do you mean? You're saying that
I mean,
if you
that,
work hard in this country,
this is the way earlier that you suggested,
work
like,
hard,
oh, here's my
you don't commit
example of
crimes.
someone who escaped poverty, and that means that everybody has access to that.
No, I'm not saying not every white person has access
So then you
to
acknowledge that there are forces that operate against black people that are unique to black people. And where do those come from?
I think a lot of it comes from the actions of
the
black
epidemic
people.
of personal responsibility that you can't indicate how.
Are
that
you
exists.
telling me? So are you a successful man? Considering, like,
I'm doing my
generally
thing. I'm
speaking?
doing my thing. Yeah.
Okay. Did you go to school?
I got incredibly lucky.
Are you educated?
I got incredibly
No.
lucky.
Are you educated?
Yeah.
Okay. What decisions did you have to make to get to the point that you're at?
Okay. We want to talk about education. We want to talk about the difference in funding between schools.
No, we want you to answer the question, right? We want you to answer the question. See, and this is what happens, you guys. It becomes this roundabout thing where I was able to defeat racism, but I see why other black people didn't defeat it. You're always making room for an excuse for somebody else that had the same opportunity and access to the things that you had. And just because they couldn't do it, you then assign that blame to racism and say, okay, I did it because I was lucky. No, let's unpack that luck. Because if it is what it is, and you're saying what it is, then it shouldn't be possible for any of us. The majority of us, the vast majority of black people are middle class. We're not doing bad. But that doesn't mean that racism doesn't exist. But the way people are explaining, the way some people like this gentleman are explaining it, you would assume that we are just out here just being conquered, running out of chains, we're being slaughtered. Like it's a mindset of a built-in excuse for people who are unable to get access to things that they want. But then when you look at what they're doing and you examine how they conduct themselves, the answer is plain as day. And then the hands of the white man is nowhere near them. Okay. And I've had this conversation on this channel all the time, you guys. And every time we have an honest one-on-one conversation, there's nothing that would suggest that a white person had anything to do with this person's success or their downfall. And people want to assign an incident hundreds of years ago to why they couldn't make the right decision today. And it's not to say that there aren't some people who are victims of bad policy, bad policing. Okay. I agree 100%. Okay. But that's not the standard. That's not the norm. All right. That's not the norm. You know, and also a lot of these things can be fixed and repaired on the things that we decide to do collectively. There are things that we are not doing that has a direct impact on the livelihood of Black people collectively. That's just a fact. All right. So again, it's, yeah, I agree. This is how we got here. That's not the reason why we're still here. And to not even acknowledge the self-agency and the self-responsibility is a big, big problem. It's a huge problem. And I would say that's where you see this division between Black people in this country. You know, where some are like, nah, bro, you're making excuses. Everything's not the white man's fault. It just isn't. All right. It just isn't. And it's hard to hear it. Listen to some people complain like this. It's crazy.
In Black neighborhoods and white neighborhoods.
No,
like if you're
funding, I went to probably one of the poor schools in my school district. That didn't make the difference of whether or not I did my homework or not.
Yeah, this is the thing why I think you're convinced that you're special.
I don't think that inherently, because the color of my skin, that somehow I'm behind the curve against white people.
Yeah, Harriet Tubman escaped the plantation. A lot of people didn't. Is it the fault of all those Black people that they couldn't escape?
I don't get your point there.
The point that I'm making is that people live in dire circumstances, and every once in a while, someone can break out. And that's not an indication of the system itself.
Black people don't
corrupt.
live in a world where every now and again, the majority of Black people live in the middle class.
Yes, but a lot more Black people live in poverty than any other.
And here's the problem: just because Black people are there's Black people in poverty, it means that it's a white person's fault. See, here's the problem that a lot of people don't understand, and here's the problem where there's so much confusion, right? Let's just say, after slavery, the 40 acres and a mule were given. It was never reneged. It was never taken back. Okay, Black banks never interrupted. Black homes never disturbed. The land never disturbed. Everything just went as it should, right? Black people were treated fair. There were no systemic laws against Black people. There's no KKK. Take every negative thing, every wicked act this country did to Black people. Let's take it out. Okay? Now, one could say Black folks are doing really good. We could say they're doing really good. They got wealth. Probably, more than likely, the wealth would have surpassed whites. I know that for a fact. It would have surpassed whites. All right. Just look at the contributions Black people have done, the things that they've invented, the things that Black people create, they would have been creating within themselves, the group economics. You look at multiplying Black Wall Streets throughout this country, Black people would have been just fine. Now, his argument alludes to the fact, right, that there would not be poor people, there would not be poor Blacks if it wasn't for white people. White people are the reason that Black people are poor, that there's Black people that are poor in this country. That is his argument, you guys, essentially. You guys, if everything worked out perfect in this country with Black people, there would still be poor Black people. And if you remove all these obstacles, remove all those things that you can imagine, you guys, there's always going to be someone at the bottom. It does not matter. There is no utopia. There is no perfect world where all Black people are going to be doing amazing. What am I saying, guys? Racism is not the reason or the cause for everything. It just isn't. And you can birth all these kids, give them the best education, put them in the best neighborhood, give them all the money, and never even educate them about race. And you're still going to have people on the bottom making bad decisions. It doesn't matter, you guys. That's not how the real world works. And I think the way he's formulating and framing his arguments, he's suggesting that there's poverty, there's misfortune in the Black community. There's Black people doing bad today, all because it all stems from white people. It all stems from systemic racism. It all stems from white supremacy. And that's not true. It's just not true. If that was the case, then there would be no poor white people, right? There just wouldn't. There wouldn't be white people in jail, in prison. All white people would be doing amazing. There'd be no white issues, right? Like, I just think that there's such a defeatist mentality among some people where they believe that they can't do better. There's this constant comparison with white people. Like, you can't do better than them. Like, it's not possible. It's not possible. They can't foresee a reality where in order for them to do good, white people have to do something. White people have to remove themselves off of something. They have to relieve themselves out of your way. You know, the psychosis and addiction to white involvement, man, whew, you guys, whew. What part of this is true? You gotta be specific. Some of it is true. What are you referring to? I think you got to be specific. I think black people, there are some black people who don't believe that they're capable. Like, this is a psychosis, you guys. This is almost equivalent to like a mental illness in a sense. I can't, you truly believe that it's not possible, that you're not capable, that you are deficient in comparison to white people. I've never felt that way. I know a lot of black people who don't feel that way at all. And they hear other black people talk like this and they're just like, dude, what are you talking about? You know? So, and I think Brandon brings that up in this next part, right? Which I think it's, you know, someone said, who imports drugs into America? I don't. Drug dealers, you know, drug dealers, our government and drug dealers, you know, but I don't know what the point is, right? So, when you have a defeatist mentality, this is how you think, right? You're already defeated. You can't see a way or a possibility to win. You don't think you can win. You believe it's not possible to win because white supremacy is established, so you can't win. Well, what does winning look like to you? The real question is how you define winning. You know. So it's interesting.
Proportion, and a lot of those are because of decision making. When you have children,
yes,
and you're not married,
this is why I'm saying that I think you think that black people have some unique moral deficit.
We
because
are
you're saying
falling,
that there's an epidemic of personal responsibility in black people, but you can't prove that. And yet we can prove that systemic racism exists.
Prove
but
that. You're what you're doing is you're assessing or
when does systemic
associating
racism stop in America? When does systemic racism stop in America?
I don't think there was real systemic racism
ever. Keep going, please keep going.
Right,
I would love for you to go for the rest of this time on that.
I do not believe that there's been systemic racism in America that's been the primary reason why black people cannot succeed.
Right, but you can't prove that there's an epidemic of personal responsibility. You can prove that there's an epidemic of systemic racism.
No, look.
And that's why I'm asking you, when did it stop? Because theoretically, that should be the moment when we're all equal.
Are you saying that black people are not responsible for the decisions that they make?
I'm saying everyone has agency. Everyone commits crime. Everyone does everything.
Exactly.
But people have had to live in different circumstances.
So therefore, if you do the right things like you did, you have an opportunity to be successful, which is equal to just about anybody else, no matter what color you are. You think white people are better than you?
No, but I worry you do.
Why do you think I do? I'm the one that's saying that black.
Whew. You know, sometimes talking fast and saying a bunch of skipping around, it's like, first what Brandon should have did was, I need you to relax. All right, I need you to calm down. We're having a conversation. I need you to calm down. You know, Brandon made it, that was a phenomenal question that Brandon asked him. He said, do you think white people are better than you? Because that's all I'm hearing, you guys. I'm hearing that. That's all I'm hearing is that white people are better than us. And I cannot compete. I cannot compete. That's all I hear. I cannot compete. And not only that, white people are making it impossible for me to do better. But then again, when he asked him directly, how has it impacted you directly? He's like, well, you know, I was lucky. I was lucky. You guys, I didn't have any issues. I got a bachelor's. I got a master's. I went to school. I had no problem. I got my stuff paid for. I saw plenty of black people do the exact same thing. There was nobody interfering with that. We all came from different backgrounds, right? What is stopping you? You guys, what is stopping you? I would like to know. Someone put in here the Mississippi Delta. Talk to me. What do you mean? You guys, man, I'm gonna go ahead and just drop the link right now so you guys can get warmed up in the back. I'm gonna drop the link because I think a lot of people, if you disagree with some of the things that are being said, I'd really love to hear what you have to say. I'm gonna go ahead and just put it in there so the moderators can have it and share it around. All right. Perry Unlikely, shout out to you and drop the super chat. Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it. Let me hear what you got to say. He said there's example of 10 kids from one neighborhood in the same grade. 5 are doctors/lawyers, 3 are poor, and 2 in jail as adults. You must apply yourself in spite of history or you have no shot. Anybody else have an issue with that reality? He is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Someone said looks like Tatum got Nathan. No, Tatum ain't got nobody over here. You know. White man shut the stream down. What happened? Oh, Jubilee hit it. All right, hold on. I think we're back. You guys, are you guys there? Are we live? Someone, let me see. Can somebody give me a thumbs up if they can currently see me right now? I heard the stream got knocked. Dang. Okay, we back up. Man, I almost ended the stream. I guess Jubilee don't want us getting active. All right, y'all can see me? Damn, that's crazy. Well, someone said I got to just play the sound because they are striking people from playing the video. All right, so we will. How would I do this though? Let me drop the link. If you want to come up, because I don't know what's gonna happen on the back end with the stream, but if you want to come up and have the discussion, let me see if there's a way I can finesse this situation. Someone said the chatbot security crew is on you, Nathan. Shout out to Perry Unlikely. What he stated is 100% on point. I agree with this statement. You guys, there is a self accountability that's undeniable when it comes to this type of stuff, and I think people like to glance over this. Regardless of white influence, it doesn't change the fact you got to come out here and you got to put in work. All right. So let me drop the link. Cam up to come up. Damn right. Cam up to come up. Let me drop it one more time, because I don't know. Usually lately we haven't been having a bunch of naysayers. Someone said, hey bro, as much as I actually like you as a person, me being a black man and have done a lifetime on this American cursed history, Nathan, you are not just wrong, but dead wrong. Come up and talk to me about it. Come up and talk to me. I want to hear your thoughts, you guys. This is not an echo chamber. This is not an echo chamber at all. You are more than welcome to come up and share your thoughts. If I'm wrong, tell me where I'm wrong at. Educate me on something that I might not be familiar, or might be inaccurate about something, as it relates to the issues or things that we can do differently. You know, I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. The link is in the chat for you to come up. I want to hear some disagreements. What did I say that was just off? You know, someone said, I like Nathan a lot, but he doesn't recognize that two things can be true at the same time. Black people can still succeed while the racist power structure still compromises a lot of us. Okay. I mean, I can agree to that. I mean, I'm not in disagreement that racism is not a factor, right? I'm not saying that racist people don't exist. I'm not saying that you have groups of people who enforce their group resources and power against the black person or black people collectively. I don't disagree with that 100%. You know, I'm not disagreeing with that at all. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying though is that we are more than capable to defeat this racism. I believe we are more than capable. I believe racism is only a factor as much as we allow it to be. I think that there are things that we could be doing that would make the power of racism, or the power of, let's say, systemic racism, or the power of white supremacy to be obsolete. I believe there's things that we can do to make systemic racism and white supremacy obsolete, a non-factor. But we would have to do something. All right. That's my opinion. I believe we have the power to combat that. All right. And I see you, we on lock. I'm about to bring you up in a sec. Shout out to Dolores Renteria. I love that name, Renteria. It sounds kind of Italian or Spanish or something. I like that though. Dolores. Beautiful name. Shout out to you. Welcome to the channel, new channel member. You guys, thank you so much. It's such a blessing to have you guys join the channel. You guys, I love when we get new members. It's a reminder to me that I'm doing something great that people see value in and want to be a part of. So I'm completely honored to all my channel members joining tonight. Over this week, we've had a lot of new members. I am super, super blessed and super, super grateful. Let me get into some of these. Got some more jewels from ours truly. Thank you so much. Live, Love, Laugh 66. Thank you so much for these gifts. Hit us with 30 jewels right here, man. Shout out to you for the love. I really appreciate it tonight. Let me see what I can do with them jewels. Buy me something. Looks like Jubilee does not want us posting their videos and reacting to it, which is crazy. Which is so crazy. I'm gonna drop this. We on Lock Nation about to bring him up, but check out his super chat here. He said, "There's only one word: organize." 100%, 100% agree. You guys, this is the issue. It's like America is a team sport, and we're the only team. We're the only group that don't play on the team. We're playing football, and we got one person out there playing against a team of 40. And we think we can do something about that. You guys, at the end of the day, that's the issue. Okay, game is about money, man. It's about money. Perry Unlikely says, bad parenting is now the biggest threat. Amen. Amen. Bad parenting is the number one threat to Black growth and success. You guys, who can argue that? He's absolutely correct. Here's the thing. We need to get good at the things that we need to get good at. Fighting racism, systemic racism, white supremacy, white oligarchy, all these names y'all keep creating. Before you can do any of that, guess what? We need to take care of our home. We have communities that we ourselves do not like to live in. Okay? We don't like to live in them. I haven't lived in a Black community, all Black, since I was a teenager. You guys, this is why when we do better, a lot of us leave. It's not because we don't like Black people. We don't like Black people behavior. Okay? Let's be honest. You know, we shouldn't have to leave our own communities around our own people, but a lot of us don't like to live amongst each other. That's not a coincidence. So stop coming on here acting like white people are. No. We can create a world and a scenario where this is not a problem. We have the power to do that. Stop coming on here acting. You guys be on here acting up. All right? Shout out to Live Love Laugh. She said 100. 100. So Perry Unlikely says, don't take the drugs brought into the country. He's 100% right. Woo. Well, I told you it's going to be a rough stream. I told you it's going to be rough. Some people cannot handle the truth. Bless their heart. It's always someone else's fault. Right? It's always someone else's fault. Shout out to a new member right here, 601 Roll Liz. Shout out to you. Welcome to the channel. I appreciate you. Welcome in. Get yourself comfortable. We have tough conversations over here. Listen, you guys, the link has been dropped because apparently we can't watch any more of the Jubilee. All right, I got to figure something out. Who knows what this stream is going to look like after I get done. And they're probably going to tax me on the back end, which is fine. The conversation is more important. All right. It's not about the money. It's about the conversation. And new member, she ended up sending this. 601 says, Nathan, I think you need to come visit. Listen, I know that the Mississippi Delta is a nightmare. I'm not trying to go down there. I don't want to spend no time in a state. We have states that are ranked so low in the education system. Listen, I'm not saying there's not problems. We have some cities and states and neighborhoods that are living in the 1770s, okay, the 1800s. We got states that are still behind, that don't want to catch up. I know this for a fact. I'm not in disagreement with you. Whereas the majority of our country has moved on, we have communities and towns that still believe the Civil War hasn't happened, okay? Bless their heart. What can we do with those folks? And the ignorance just keeps on perpetuating generation after generation. Racism is taught. Wickedness is taught. Okay? Hatred is taught. These things are taught. I drove by daycare the other day. I see a bunch of kids playing, and they're from all over the damn place. They don't know anything until you teach them, until you brainwash them. You know, that's the real problem nobody likes to talk about. So I get it. The link has been dropped. We Unlock about to pull you up, brother. Let me see. Let me get this right. We Unlock Nation, welcome, man. Haven't seen you in a while, brother. Good to see you.
How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm good. Before we get started, can you guys test the I had an issue last time with the echo. Does anybody see the echo? Anybody hear the echo?
I can hear the echo in the background.
You hear echo?
Mm-hmm. Now you're good.
All right, good. All right, what's your thoughts on this? I know this was we didn't get a chance to finish through. Tatum is probably the worst person to have these type of conversations and a debate, but what are your thoughts in general have you seen the whole debate just in general before?
I've seen parts of it. I mean,
Okay.
It doesn't take all of the show or the stream or whatever to know that Officer Brandon Tatum or whatever you call himself is nothing but he just hates his own skin. And he admitted it. He admitted it on his own live that he hated black people. So I'm not trying to start nothing up in your stream. I'm just stating the fact.
Yeah.
But anyway, us as adults, us black people, we know all about Jim Crowism, Willie Lynch, redlining. Right. We know all those things. It's not the fact that we don't want to do anything. It's the fact that we do. We just don't want the same tragedies that happened to us in the past. And every time something is built up, it's automatically torn down. If we were to do something, it's always a goalpost being moved. And it turns into anger, frustration, and then it turns into elimination. It turns into police brutality and all this other stuff. Not that all cops are bad. We're not saying that all cops are bad. This is that one lining, all bad apples spoiled the bunch. But here's my issue, and it's been brewing for a very long time. It's it's the fact that we as a people, we're too divided. We're too divided and we're too tribalism.
Yes.
You are Jamaican descent.
That's correct.
People, I don't know where this came from. Obviously, it's because of a one word issue that Black Americans have been having for quite a long time. But I don't have that issue. I don't have an issue with Jamaican descent. I have no problem with Haitians. I have no problems with Africans. I have no problem with British. I have no problems with Black people who live in China. I have no problems with them because they have no problems with me. And unless we work together in some sense, unless we come together in some sense and organize and re-strengthen one nation in one word, organization is what it takes to rebuild our own communities. And first we have to take out the bad element. I would love for a specific white person to say, we effed up. We effed up, and we know we effed up. And we can't take everything back, but we can somehow compromise, because the only thing we want is not just an apology, but the acknowledgement. And to acknowledge that their ancestors have done things in the past that have set us back decades and decades and decades later. But in 2026, I get it. We should be far along ahead, but it's the traumatization. You have to admit this, the traumatization that is setting a few of us, and this is one of the reasons why we're not getting along farther ahead as we should. And we have to acknowledge that the traumatization is still there. I mean, look at the administration that is of today. We have a person in the White House. I'm trying to be nice because you know who I am. We have a person in the White House.
Oh, before you, let me pause you there though, because I want to touch on a couple of things that you said before you dive into that. And again, you guys, the link is in there for you to come up if you have thoughts and you want to express some thoughts. Here's what I'll say. One thing for sure, we're not getting an apology. No one's getting an apology. All right, no one's getting an apology. That's not going to happen. The next thing is there has been acknowledgement of that, that slavery was a stain on the American history. I think those things can all be said and all be done. And I think you can have the white establishment of America from the political structure who can acknowledge all these things all day. I think the issue, though, at the end of the day is they can acknowledge that they created a problem, but they have no interest in trying to go about fixing it. And so the real question comes down to then what? They say, we're not giving you an apology. What are you going to do about it? Right? We're not doing this. We're not doing that. They talked about, giving reparations. They want to do a study about it. There's no need to be a study. We know that it's supposed to be given, right? To those who are descendants of slaves, they should have their reparations. Are they going to do it? No, they're not going to do it. And whether they do it or not, the reality is there's still things that need to be done that only we have control over, if that makes sense. The question is, what will you do? What can you do? And what should you do? Waiting on white people or the white oppressors or however people want to describe them is never the answer, right? It's not the answer. We can't force them to do anything. We just can't. The power that we have as a group, collective, just like you said, is within our dollars, economic power, the economic strength. That is how you move things in this country. You have to play the game the way the rules have been established. And unfortunately, there's too many people in this country that want to complain about the rules instead of playing the games that you didn't create the rules. It is what it is. There's certain realities that are not negotiable. And that's the problem. The problem is people want to complain about the rules and complain about the game instead of putting ourselves in proper position so that we can play the game and win, right? And there's only one way to do it. This is a team sport. You cannot play this game as individuals. Individually, there are black people who are doing really well. But when you look at collectively, if we look at each other and measure each other collectively, we're not doing as good as we should in comparison to our counterparts. And that is the issue. And I think that we can, like you said, we're all adults. A lot of us are educated enough we understand what happened, how we got here, these things. At the end of the day, there are things that only we can do that no one else is responsible for doing. Though we did not create the problem, we are responsible for solving the problem. And a lot of people don't like that. But you cannot say that you hate these people and say that they're the oppressors and that they are practicing systemic racism and white supremacy, and then turn around and beg the same people to fix the problem they created. That sounds retarded to me. Your thoughts?
Sounds like you're referring to the. I mean, it sounds like you're referring to the people who despise immigrants in the first place. I'm not going to name those particular people, but the only thing that I know is you on the same boat as me, and we're both getting hung at the same time. So you ain't choosing one or the other.
No,
you just not. We either gonna sink or swim together, brother. It's that simple.
Yeah, the white supremacy. I mean, white supremacy means
there's going to be some bad apples in the bunch.
Of course, white supremacy means white supremacy. White supremacy, if people are looking at it from the proper definition, means that it's one group supreme over all. So if it's one group supreme over all, then why are we dividing each other 8 different ways? So again, it's this battle of emotionalism that we're dealing with. People want to look at, well, you're not that dark, or your descendants come from here, or your descendant. My bad, my folks are dropped off the boat early. I mean, but I'm here. Okay, I'm here. I'm participating in the same system everybody else is. And we're worrying about the wrong things. I think the real issue is that you have different groups of black people in this country who view the problem differently. And because we view the problem differently and we look at how the problem should be solved differently, we then now, because you don't agree with me, you want to alienate yourself from me because you don't like my perspective. You don't like the way I think it should be solved. Instead of saying, okay, well, let's join forces anyways and let's solve it together. Let's find out how we can do it to make it work. You just don't like my perspective, and that's the issue, right? And so it's a maturity thing that you're dealing with a lot of people. It's a lack of maturity. It's hyper emotionalism that you're dealing with. Some people just can't. They don't want to listen to understand. They want to listen to argue. They're so hyper emotional, you cannot have a discussion with them. And I think that's where the problem is. They're not here to solve the problem. They're here to complain about it.
Or maybe it's just a simple fact that you just can't beat a person that is beating you 10 ways a Sunday, and that's your oppressor. Like,
That's right.
instead of you turning your anger and your oppression to him, you want to turn your anger and your oppression to people like us. But
Yeah.
we may speak a different language.
Right.
I might speak Igbo, you might speak Creole, but at the same time, again, we're on the same boat together, and we're gonna sink or swim. It's that simple. But I don't know how that turned. I don't know how that tide turned, but I know it's an issue. It's an agenda. It's an agenda that can simply be fixed by one word: organization. You're organized by, first and foremost, putting out the bad element, putting that money together, and not expecting anything in return other than flipping it 8 to 12 times, as Dr.
Right.
Claude Anderson has put it. You can go read his books.
Yep.
I shouldn't have to tell you these things. You should already know these things by our ancestors and the people before us. But because they're in a certain lineage, but because they're from a certain background or something like that, you want to portray these things as if we're not born here. It's like the people that excuse you, you call yourself an American, right? But the people who are the opposite of you don't care much about you or your interests. As a matter of fact, they might as well put you back in factories and do slave work for them while they constantly get your money. And speaking of reparations, real quick before I leave, reparations, you spent your money on your reparations is spent. How many pairs of Nikes do you buy? how much food and necessary stuff do you buy a day? I mean, I don't want to toot nobody's horn or nothing, but gee whiz, if you add all that stuff up, we often ask you to sacrifice a year or two of some of that stuff, and all of that stuff adds up in the end. But clearly, if you give an Asian person, right? If you give an Asian person $1 million and you give a black person $1 million, go to them 10 years later and see who's been developing a little bit more. You're gonna have Chinatowns and Asian towns all over the place. Trust me, I know. I live in Las Vegas.
I think there just needs to be.
You skip a little bit.
Can you hear me? And the weather acting up too. I always get nervous when it starts storming over here. Can you let me?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we're freezing. Chat, can y'all see us? Okay. But I'm gonna bring up the next caller though. We unlock.
yeah.
I'm
I
gonna say
see
you
you
make.
just
I'm over here skipping right. The stream. Okay. But no, great points. I think honestly, one of the biggest
you're
challenges.
fine. This is when I jot down this way. But it's
Good seeing you, man. Good seeing you, brother. That's we on live. Good brother right there. You guys check him out. Check out his channel. We got some great discussions over there. Had a chance to go over there a couple times. I always enjoy the conversation. We just talk about police issues, black issues, and things like that. You guys, here's my thing. I'm not opposed to reparations. I think reparations are necessary. I think there's some logistical issues with trying to make that work. However, I also think that they're not going to do it. That's my opinion. Doesn't mean I don't think it should be delivered. However, I do think there's other ways to get it done. I think if they wanted to do it, they would have done it a long time ago. They had, I think if they really wanted to pull it off, they could have did the last presidential term, right? It was Democrat everything. You know what I'm saying? So this is all I'm saying. Reparations or no reparations. There's a way you can demand it, get it, but we would have to put ourselves in a particular position to have the leverage to bend the politicians to give it. But because we don't have that leverage, you guys, it's not coming, right? You got to force these politicians to get what you want. You got to buy them like everybody else does, okay? And a lot of us, we don't even invest in political candidates like that. You just vote for them, but you don't put money in their pocket on the campaign trail. I know you don't. Okay, I don't know any friends, any that do it. You know what I mean? And so I think these conversations are interesting. I think because we can talk about solutions or we can talk about the problem. We can talk about what needs to happen next, or we can talk about what happened yesterday. And that is really where the problem lies. Is that I don't see people coming with that concerted effort to see what the next step needs to be. It's always, let's talk about why we can't get to the next step versus what can we do to get there? What should we do to get there? To me, that's where the conversation needs to come. And if you want to talk about it, come on up. You guys, the link is in the chat. Before we shut it down, I want to hear some people who disagree. I want to hear someone who has an issue. Someone said against reparations, but you're not. No one's against it. I said make them do it. I'm not against reparations. Don't think with your heart. I want you to listen with your mind, okay? This is what happens. We get so emotional that we miss the point that's being made. You know, this is probably our biggest Achilles heel as black people in this country. We are so emotional. We're so easily manipulated by words. Listen to what I'm saying, okay? Don't feel what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Oh, yeah, you don't qualify for reparations, so because of that, you don't. No, I think it should be done. I said you got to make them do it. Complaining doesn't do. America doesn't respond through whining and complaining. They respond by force, power, and action. That's the language of this country, whether you like it or not. You're dealing with people who believe that might makes right. That's the game. Might makes right. You guys, I can clearly see none of y'all studied, majority of y'all have not studied history or politics. You don't know anything. You're just speaking from a place of emotion. You want what you want because that's what you want. No, you got to fight for it. Right? So, again, I have a lot of confident people in the chat, but nobody ever wants to come up and talk directly. Put your words where your face is. Come on. Someone says bad generation. It's not a generation. It's not. It's the truth. It's the truth. Oh, snap. Got one in the back. Got one in the back. Come on up, you guys. Come on up. I want you to come up. I want you to express your thoughts. Let me hear what you have to say. Come on up. Come on, BATL404. I want to see. Come on up. I want to hear your thoughts. What'd she say? She said, I am a FBA, but I don't really believe in that. But I do agree with the issues about non-FBA even speaking on reparations. I think your statement is not valid because if that's how we operate, where if you're not something, you're not allowed to talk about something. That's a poor argument. That's a very poor argument. We talk about everything. If that's the case, I'm an officer, former officer. You're not. You can't speak on police issues. You should never speak on police issues because you are never a police officer. You see how that works? Right? Men shouldn't talk about issues involving women because we're not women. Well, then women shouldn't speak on issues involving men because you're not a man. You can't pick and choose. That logic falls apart. When we're talking about maturity, we're talking about mature people having conversations as educated adults. We can talk about anything we want to talk about. Right? Because you have an emotional attachment to a word or a feeling, you want to then control who's allowed to have that discussion. It doesn't work like that. This goes back to what I said earlier. Someone said it's not the same, but okay. Well, come on up and talk to me about it. What do you mean? Explain yourself. What do you that's exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. Come on up. Don't be shy. I don't bite. I promise. I'm very fair over here. I just want to hear people's opinion. I'm not here to argue, but I want to hear your thoughts. Someone said I hit the link, but I'm in bed. I don't want to be on camera. Come on. You don't want to be on camera? Come on now. Come on now. Been involved in MS politics for about 53 years. Let's see. Been involved in Mississippi politics for about 53 years. Not sure your audience is ready for me to preach. Nah, it's not that the audience isn't ready. The audience is always ready over here because we have it's a melting pot over here on this channel. We don't censor on this channel. I just ask that people just be respectful just for the YouTube guidelines. All right. But for the most part, I want people to express themselves. There is, she said, I have my scarf on in pajamas. Girl, that scarf ain't hurt nobody. You sisters be out here in their bonnets. Okay. You want to see the poll results? Okay. Before I pull up the next guest, let's look at the poll results real quick. Let me see. Let's see the poll results. How can I put it up on the screen? How do I do that? So the poll results. Is rap music harmful? Is rap music harmful to the Black community? 74% of people said yes. Okay. 26% said no. So that's very interesting. If you haven't voted on the poll, look on the on the bottom. I think you should see there if you want to throw your last little votes in before I end it. Is rap music, we're talking about rap music today, is it harmful to the Black community? Over 70% of you guys said yes, it is. So thank you guys for just taking the time to vote. We got some more votes coming in. If you haven't voted, finalize votes in the last 2 minutes. Let me get to the last. If you haven't voted, please jump on the vote. Is rap music harmful to the Black community? I really, really want to get your thoughts on that. Rap is harmful to everyone, even whiteness and bourbons. Okay. Yeah. Rap is harmful to everyone. Yeah, okay. So let me end this poll right here. And then let's see. I wish I could pull it. I'm pretty sure there's a way to pull it up. I think you guys can see it right here in the chat. All right. Nathaniel, I'm about to pull you up, brother. I'm about to pull you up. Take it easy on me. Take it easy on me. All right. So Nathaniel, about to pull you up, brother.
Okay, my brother.
Take it easy. All right. So you have to mute. All right. You gotta mute the YouTube in the background, and then I'm gonna unmute your mic. That way we don't have an echo. All right. Let's try it again. I'm gonna unmute you. You gotta mute
the YouTube in the background.
Yeah, because what happens when I'm talking, it goes through your speaker and through your headphones and back to your mic. I mean, it goes through the speaker into your mic back into the YouTube. So once you mute the TV, once you mute the YouTube, it should be good.
How about now?
Sounds good on my end. How we sound, chat? Is there any echo on your end? Because it was
Can't hear
echo.
him.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
No, I got the TV on mute. I ain't got this here on mute.
Okay, so you can hear me okay though, right? Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Hold on.
All right, do your thing. Do your thing. Do your thing. So far we looking good.
All right, is you there? I still
there.
can't hear him.
He can't hear me. All right, I'm gonna drop you down. Fix your mic. I'll bring you back up. All right. While he's working on that, anybody else want to come up? Anybody want to come up? Listen, don't be shy. Don't be talking about you in the bed with a bonnet on. Come on up. Come on up. We just need to see your little face. Come on up. Y'all don't be scared. I want to hear your thoughts. Come on up. Come on up. Come on. These last little 20 minutes. Come on up. So people believe that only certain people are qualified to speak on certain things because they have to. I don't know what their understanding or explanation of it or reasoning is. Here's the problem I have with that young lady's logic is that there are people who do have what they quote unquote call the qualifications needed to speak on the issue, and they agree with me. We're in agreement together. So then what is now the response, right? What is the response to that? And there lies the problem when we have nonsensical explanations as to how we feel about something because we don't, whatever. This goes back to what I said about people having issue with law enforcement. Sometimes it's not that people think that white people are racist. It's just that they don't like white people putting authority over them. And they think by them doing so means that it's a racist thing that they're doing to them because the person's white. And so it's just an unhealthy mindset. And it's not to say that it doesn't happen. I'm just saying that not every issue is racist. Okay. That's all I'm saying. Every situation is not racist. And for you to jump to the conclusion that it's racist is a problem within itself. Successful MD says she doesn't want you to clip her to go viral. Exactly. Exactly. But sorry, y'all, this mosquito bit me. I was in the garden earlier. These mosquitoes will tear you up. I think I don't do things to go viral, but we have honest conversations. People cause themselves to go viral because they do things or say things that is sometimes it's just so out the world crazy. People are just like, this sounds ridiculous. People say some crazy things up here, but I just have the honest conversation. But the truth is things have to make sense, you guys. Things have to make sense. Shout out to BATL, because I could tell she's fun. I could tell she's cool. She's good spirit behind her thoughts. I know she don't mean nothing negative by it. But she's new to the channel, so she don't know how I get busy on here, you guys. But this is what I'll say, because here's the problem. What did she say? She said, I don't mean you can't speak on it, but it's some that say we don't deserve it about those type of people. No, I don't think that. Here's the thing. Reparations was promised, it was given, right? It was signed off on, and then they took it back. Okay, they took it back. It's not fair. They can't do that. They were never held accountable for that. The government owes the people that, period. There's no way around it. The issue is that we're not utilizing our power to hold them accountable. And there's things that can be done to get it done. But what has happened is they've put people in place to act like they care about black people, and they don't. And they're black. And they put them in these positions like the Black Caucus to claim they're going to address black issues. But really, they act as a buffer to prevent black people from really getting the things they need. Okay? Listen, you're playing in a very wicked system. Malcolm told you guys this. Malcolm said this already. But nobody wanted to listen to him. You guys, the red and the blue, it's opposite wings on the same bird. You have to make these people do things. You cannot ask them. You can't tell them. You have to make them. They only understand power and money. That's it. And I think we believe that voting and all that makes a difference. No. You gotta put money down. You got to put money down. And you got to take money away. That's how people understand, you guys. All right. Should have listened to Malcolm, but y'all wanted to listen to Martin. It's the reason why we celebrate his birthday and not the other. Okay. It's all, the games are all there. You're just not paying attention. You're just not paying attention. We respect the leaders that are given to us, not the ones that we give them. Okay, and I think that's where the problem is. Listen, we can get deep on it. But again, you know, I try to keep it shallow because some people can't handle it, you guys. Some people can't handle it. And so I have to do it in a way to where I need you to pick up what I'm saying. All right. I lost the whole channel telling the truth. I lost a whole channel with millions of views on TikTok telling the truth. And they never told me why they cut. Well, they told me what video cut it. That's how I knew it was a problem. And to this day, I do not drop unsolicited gems anymore on social media. I just don't. I don't. So you do. They don't. You guys, we're more than capable. We're more than capable. And all this infighting is not helping at all. All right, Nathaniel, about to bring you up, and then we're gonna close it out since nobody else want to come up. Nobody else want to come up. All right, Nate, let me bring you up. All right, how we sound?
What's up, my brother?
What's good, brother? What's good? How we doing, chat? Any echo? Good. Any echo in the chat? Let's see if how we got. Y'all hear anything? Are we good? We sound good. We might have pulled it off. All right, brother. What's going on, man? What's going on? It's always good to see you.
It's good to see you as well, my brother. When I saw you, I just come back from a football practice with my 3 grandsons.
Okay.
And just like every time I cut you on, you always got some good, excellent things going on. But you know, you said the fight. Boy, you're right about that, man. We need to stop killing up each other, right?
Right.
The other people doing enough of that for us, okay? We don't need to help them. But that see, every time I come and brother said something about he don't want to get up here preaching. Wow. Well, let me listen. Don't just come up here and tell the truth.
Yeah.
Like the brother you was talking to when I walked in, he was talking about that you was from Jamaica, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you being from Jamaica, that makes you one of the children of God too. And there lies our problem. The reason why we can't get reparations, we're not a sovereign nation. Everybody that's right? So that's the true. Money that they spend trying to stop us from being who we are, because it'll tell you where it all took place at in Psalms 83. It tells how they will come together and stop us from being a nation, that the name of Israel will be no longer in remembrance. Okay. We're going to lose our inheritance. Why? Because we won't listen. We won't come back as a sovereign nation of people. And so once we come back as a sovereign nation, that's when God joins with us. And then we're able to take, that's how we're going to bring out all the gold, all the everything out of the United States. It's gonna be history. And that's the thing that they know who wearing crosses. All these people wearing crosses, they know they still got you, because a cross is nothing but a letter T. If I tell you to cross a word out, what letter would you use? You're gonna use an X, right?
Yeah, I see. I see. Hold on. You got some static. You got a little static on your end though. Is it? Make sure your connection good. I think
yes.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on? Because I know we're doing the stream. What happened was Jubilee looks like they made me force cut the stream, so I couldn't continue to air and do the reaction. So I'm not sure how much you may have caught, but for the most part, what are your thoughts? Let me see if I can ask you something that's pretty overarching, general. Do you believe? And just me curious, just poking your brain out of curiosity. How much does white influence impact a black person's ability to, I guess, succeed in this country? If that's a fair question to ask.
It's a very fair question. Very fair question. And I'm going to give you a very fair answer.
Okay.
This that we're going through, it happened long time ago, many years ago. A lot of our people really need to pick up the Willie Lynch letter and read it and see how this man had a system in his mind to put in action. And in that action, all we got to do is look at it right now. What do mothers like doing? They like protecting their boys, right?
Baby and the kids, yeah.
Get the man out the house so he can't be the man to show his son how to be a man. And then have our children end up walking in that lifestyle. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because that's what we see. And then we turn around and we got mama go to the store, buy a purse. Mama go to what's that? Valley Victoria's or what is it called? Victoria's Secret and all that. Yeah, go to and buy some low thongs. And then he watching her. And then she's grabbing him by the hand. Boy, come on. And then she's switching. And then next thing you know, here you got a son growing up watching this. And what is he gonna be? End up
a little sweet.
That's right. Willie Lynch is an excellent read. I'm telling everybody, all of our people need to read Willie Lynch. Read another book called Who is Esau Edom? Esau Edom is who these people are. This battle is about Jacob and Esau. If you if we go in the Bible and read this here, Esau was a red man, right? And they call themselves what today? White. Ain't no white people. They're red because they even call themselves rednecks, right? We call ourselves, we allow them to call us black, right? I'd rather be called Afro-American than be called a black, because we're not black. And so all these systematic things that they brought forth and out of all these years, they have implemented it all the way up. So we wonder why we can't get reparation. That's all our people talk about is reparation. They gave it to Chinese, they gave it to the Japanese, they gave it to everybody because it was all sovereign nations. You see, they don't give us nothing because we're divided amongst ourselves. So yes, it has played a great role in our lives as coming up. That's the reason why a lot of our people, they think that Christ is coming back to save everybody. And in the Bible, it doesn't say that nowhere. And you ask people, what scripture you got to prove it? They'll say John 3:16. Everybody holler John 3:16. But then ask them, what does John 3:14 say? They can't tell you. Why? Because they've been conditioned to listen to John 3:16 and make them think that Christ loves everybody. Christ said, I come to save my people.
I
so
think
that's that.
Well, let me stop you there, because I think if we get into a religious debate, then that'll change the direction of this. What I'm saying is, we talk about the religion, but you're referring to, but you're referring to
the Bible is our history book. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
and
but if we get
into history, I mean to religion.
Right, but let's not say religion. If we get into Bible talk, then that's going to change the direction of the conversation. What I want to narrow it down to, are the actions of white people interfere with black people from being successful today in this moment? That's the question, right? So does the actions of a white person interfere with you being successful today as a man in America in 2026?
If the most I can be is a gatekeeper. All right. I've been working here. I'm 67 years old. I ain't never made it with where Oprah Winfrey is, where the few little hand-picked Negroes is. I ain't never made it there. So that would be an unfair question for me to try to answer that. But all I can tell you is I've been working here 67 years in America, right? I mean, I'm 67 years old, probably been working I say 50 some years. I get $1,045 a month of Social Security. Disabled. Okay. So do the white men play a role? Yes. Right now, Donald Trump can actually strip and say, I'm taking away Social Security and all that. He done took away everything there is. Everything there is. Okay? So yes, they have a great big influence or control over who make it and who don't make it. You know what I'm saying?
So then let me pause you there. Let me ask you this. And then I want to bring up, hold that thought. I want to bring up I got a call on the back. I want to bring her up before she go to bed, because she got the rollers on. BHL, I'm about to bring you up when you're ready. You got the rollers. She took her rollers out. Let me ask you this question, and I want to bring her up because I want to get her thoughts before it gets too late. Is there something that we can do about it to change the course and the direction that we're in now? That's the question I have for you. You're saying that white people influence, but what can we do now? So we're all in agreement that they've influenced. We know that for a fact. No one can deny that. All right. And that they have impact. The question I ask for you is, what can we do next? What's next? What should we do? And then how we go about doing it. I'm going to drop you down for a second. Let me bring up BATL. All right.
Okay.
All right, brother. All right, I'm bringing this sister up. Let me see what she's talking about. Let me see. What's up? What's up? Okay.
That took off the bonnet.
Nah, I appreciate you, little bonnet warrior.
I don't wear it out. I don't even like to wear the rollers on, but I ain't feel like
No, you good.
But no, what I was saying about the reparations, like I was saying, I am an FBA. I'm not like with that movement, so whatever, but I get points of it and reasons of it, and not that you say anything wrong or whatever, but I seen where like people who are not FBA, they have same skin color. Well, am I echoing?
No, you're okay. Oh, they said you are echoing. Is she echoing? They said a small echo. Do you have YouTube up in the background playing? No. I don't know what's up with these echoes, man. I gotta figure it out. Someone said turn down your YouTube volume, but her YouTube's not up.
Yeah, it's not up.
Someone said she echoing bad. What? No, what you doing? You got the mic on. Let me okay, go ahead and speak. I'm gonna mute myself, see if that helps. Go ahead.
You hear me now? Is it still echoing? I don't, I don't hear echo now, but um, okay. So what I was saying, oh, so not like I said, not that you were saying anything wrong or anything, but um, it is a lot of non-FPAs that will say like we don't deserve um reparations. All we're gonna do is spend it on houses, money, cars, clothes, stuff like that or whatever. So sometimes, and they call them tether, not to be offensive, tethers or whatever like that. So that's what I was saying, like about speaking on that anybody can't speak on it, but just like if it's to me, in my opinion, like if you're saying no, like don't, you know what I'm saying, negative, and you're showing the same skin color as me, that's the contradiction of to what we're trying to take care of. But like I said, with the whole FBA, like I get that part of it, the extreme part of it, like just calling everybody Taylor just because you're not, from here, I feel like, um, if you black, you black. Like I don't care where you from. But in that regard, that is like a sensitive subject. So I probably get a little, But that's what I was saying. But nothing wrong with what you said, and I probably meant it in the or said it in a bad way. Like you shouldn't speak on it. I meant negatively. Yeah, I agree.
All right. All right. Let me okay, I'm gonna mute you while I talk so we don't get no
Okay.
echo. All right. I see FBA deserve reparations even if they buy Hellcats and Versace. Here's the thing. First of all, I appreciate you just being just pleasant. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of FBAs that I know that we share the same perspective, same sentiment. I think when FBA concept first came out, I said, "Oh shit, that's a great idea. I think that's super smart." Like, you basically you the delineation is important. Okay? It's very important because America's a melting pot. Just like every white person isn't from the same place. You got white people from Poland, you got white people from England, you got white people from Alaska. All right, you got white people from Moscow, Russia. So it's like you got white folks who are all over the place that come to America. They're not all from the same place. You got Swiss, right? You got people from Norway. So same with blacks, right? People who are all over the world are here in the United States. So with that being said, there's a delineation basically saying that, hey, there's a specific group of black Americans that are unique to this country. I think that's a great idea. I thought it was spot on. I think it's very important to make that distinction for a lot of different reasons. Now, when we fast forward and start having the conversation about how the country needs to treat and what the country needs to do and what the country needs to repair from slavery, that is a very unique conversation, and I believe it should happen. The history tells us that it was promised 40 acres and a mule. What that land looks like, what it looks like today, what could have been used with that, all the destruction that white America has done, KKK, you name it, from policymakers to the government. Let's just say the government and bad actors in this country and what they've done terrorizing black Americans, unacceptable. And there should be reparations accounted for those events as well, right? Now, I'm not in disagreement with that whatsoever. When I start having a conversation with people and we're talking about a lot of the topics surrounding that, what I found have been a big issue is that a lot of people aren't mature enough to have the conversation, real discussion about what it looks like, how to implement it, where it should impact, what it should look like. And they don't want to hear any ideas. Some of them don't want to hear your thoughts. They don't want to hear what you have to say. Just give me my money. Just give me the check, cut the check. I don't care about. And it's like, yo, hold on, it doesn't work like that, because here I'm actually examining the communities that I've policed. I'm examining the communities that I've had to deal with. You talk to black FBA teachers, talk to black FBA police officers, black FBA doctors, and they will tell you, hey, there's a way we need to do this to make sure it works properly for generations to come. There's a lot of Negroes that don't want to have that conversation. And they're like, nah, you didn't tell the Japanese how you going to cut the check. Just cut the check. So the problem is you're talking to people who are not mature enough to have the conversation. And then they say, you know what, hold on. Where are you from? Where are your parents from? And then you're like, well, we're from here. Oh, that's the reason why you don't think we should have them. It's like, no, I'm not saying, And next you know, it turns into a shouting match. And then it goes in a direction it's not supposed to go in. And what happens is this country is so good at putting puppets in position to create division amongst people in this country to ensure that they do not get the things that they need to get to succeed. People like a Tariq Nasheed, all right? So people like a Benjamin Crump. And we think that these people have our interests, but yet these people have been planted, okay? And there's things about Tariq Nasheed people don't want to pay attention to. All right, he's not Tariq Nasheed. That's not his name. You know, he has a very interesting background. You know, people like the guy who did the Tulsa real estate fund, right? And how he scammed black people out of all kind of hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars of money, you know. And we don't see the games and the tricks that are being played because we're so emotionally invested in the words. Tulsa real estate fund. The brother ain't, you know. And it's sad that our own people who look like us will do what? Will scam us and will use and weaponize historical black pain to make money off of. Okay. And that's what unfortunately is happening. And because of that, we end up further dividing ourselves and unable to at least come together for a common cause and a common reason to say, oh, Jay Morrison, that's his name. A top-notch scam artist. And he used trigger words that he knew would trigger black people emotionally in order to get them to open up their pocket. All right. So to your point, I agree with what you're saying, but I think what happens is too many closed ears because you have people having opinions and that want to talk about it because it's important to us to see black Americans get it. You know, we want to see everybody win, but we want to do it the right way. And some obstacles. You have some black Americans that they're not paying attention to. They're so invested in the racism that they can't see some of the things that they themselves can control that has nothing to do with a white person. You know, something as simple as just fixing our own homes, being accountable for self, doing the things we need to do, and even removing ourselves from a lot of businesses that we invest in our own communities. That's a big first step, you know. And so little things like that can change. Instead of boycotting Target, we can boycott these nail salons, these hair shops. You know, I ain't know that. You know, we might have to go around, you know, scalping a little bit. We got to go. It'd be a little struggle. But so, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree with you. That's why I was gonna bring. That's why I said with the FBA, I get the point. And now, Tariq, yeah, he to me he's an agent of chaos because I don't know. You know, he had the Hidden Color documentaries, the four or five. I think it's five of them, and he was to me seemed like all in for like Pan Africanism, like or whatever. He was talking about the Moors and going through our history, and then all of a sudden he got on like that tether, stuff or whatever, or the FBA situation, which, like I said, to a certain extent, I get it because it is. I think it's like bad people on both sides of black, non FBAs that do stuff and say stuff. And then, but I think it's also bad FBAs that, like you said, use that as almost like saying tethers, like calling your own, people the N word. I mean, I don't know, like it's like a slander or whatever. And like you said, I see a lot of people on the internet, which I hate, and that's why sometimes I don't. like to even type that or say it or whatever, but people use it. I guess like it's extremists. I don't know, whatever they use it so loosely. Like you said, the minute somebody says something that they don't like or whatever, then it's like you said, where's your what's your lineage? Where's your grandma from? Where your mama? Where you got it from? And then it's, oh, that's Taylor. That's why you saying that or whatever. Which it's like you gotta listen to what that person is saying. It doesn't mean um that they're necessarily a Taylor, because even it's sometimes unconsciously, I can't even say it, unconscious, subconsciously it's in you because you hear it so much. Because even when you was talking about it, I did kind of bypass what you were saying about it, and I had to think that like, oh, he didn't say no, don't whatever. He just said 2 points. So what, like he said, really, the truth. But I did get triggered. So, and not intentionally, but just all of the stuff on the internet. But I do agree. I think that um being together make you stronger. Being divided is what how you get conquered. That's how we got conquered. And I don't think we're gonna get anywhere if we with the inner strife, whether it's with females and males, black women and black men, um, non FUA, FA. It's like there's so many like divisions. I think with black people that we have to get, like you said, on one accord, or at least a good majority together. We can't say everybody. Everybody's not gonna be on the same accord, but just doing that. I don't agree with the Benjamin Crump. I don't know if he had Asian. I don't know about that part. I like Benjamin Crump, but maybe I don't know, because I don't like people attacking. To me, they attacking Benjamin Crump like they used to attack the civil rights leaders back in the day. So I don't really, I don't really like that. But and I agree too what you were saying too about Malcolm X. Like Malcolm X, that is my favorite. Like that's my, and nobody can top him. No Martin Luther King, nobody. I go back, you listen to his interviews. He is such a smart, educated. Everything he said then is true even since to this day, and we still ain't did nothing. He gave us the blueprint. It's crazy. It is crazy, and I don't understand it. But hey, that's it though.
Listen, I love your perspective, and I really really appreciate just your sincerity and your honesty, and even when you just said how certain things just kind of triggered you. I think that's just, to me, I just appreciate you just being genuine, and that's what we do on this channel. We're just real, and that's what happens, right? When we have these conversations, it's hard to listen to sometimes, but if we listen with our ears and we listen with our mind and not with our hearts, sometimes we will miss it. And really focus on, hey, what's the reality? The reality is you're gonna have to fight for this. They don't want to give it. They don't. So if we know that, let's talk about how to go about fighting for it, right? Let that be the next conversation. And listen, I've had some run-ins with a lot of these civil rights. I don't say a lot, but maybe like two or three. One of them being Al Sharpton, and I've seen them do things that I don't agree with. I've seen them weaponize racism, and when it didn't suit them, they dismiss it. It's not about justice for them, right? It's not about racial justice and all that. Those are catch lines and catchphrases. I've caught them in several lies. And so because of that, I don't trust them. I don't think they have the integrity that they're trying to lead on. And so they do things again where they try to manipulate black people emotionally. And I don't stand for that. I don't. Tell it to us real, keep it real, be raw, direct, be honest, be truthful, but have integrity. The moment I see you playing games and trying to weaponize racism, if it's racism, let it be race. I'm cool with that. All right. I'm not one of them guys who's like, racism, no, I'm cool with that. But when you start lying about it and you stand 10 toes down on the lie, then I don't trust you. Then I see you gaslighting black people because you know that is a vulnerability for us here in America, is that you use racism immediately, and you got people. I had a guy, he was the mayor of Was it Baltimore? The mayor of Baltimore, I think. Kasim, is his name? What was his damn name? I can't remember his name. Kwame. I think his name is Kwame. And I can't remember what city, but it was a black city. And he was at an event that I was speaking at, and I got a chance to listen to him talk. And he said something to me that was so profound. He used to be Democrat. And he told me that he was told as he was running that all he had to do, Trump, I think, pardoned him, if I'm not mistaken. Trump, because he got sent to prison for some stuff. But he said something I thought was so interesting that went over everybody's head. He said, hey, listen, I was told to just tell y'all that these people are racist and that's it. Kilpatrick. Thank you. Somebody always on point in the chat. That's it, Kilpatrick. You know what this brother said? He was a mayor now, big time mayor, black mayor, everything. He said, I lied to black people. And all I had to do was tell them that conservatives were racist and they voted for me. That's how deep this thing goes. He knew that we would not double check, we wouldn't look into it, we wouldn't do any research, that we would just believe him because he's black and he's a Democrat. Yes, Kwame Kilpatrick, that's his name. And that stuck with me. And I could never shake that. And I think that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. The power of the word racist and how that manipulates and influences black people. Someone calls you the N-word. How that you ready to risk it all. And we just forget. You know what I mean? That you say you the one, you the type, you the one, you ready. You pull it. Oh. but
Well, I want to say one thing though. With that, even if you talking about like basically like gaslighting black people, first of all, I think you have to have common sense though. Like me, you can't just say everything's racist or racism or whatever. I can see or whatever. I mean, some people, yeah, I can see what you're saying. But another thing too is it's another side to that too is black people who are like white on the inside, I guess, so to speak, but black on the, like the one you were just reviewing, like and saying ignorant, doing the worst. I never see. It's so embarrassing. So and they're capitulating to white people or whatever as well. So it's like to me, it's a lot going on with us, but that's just one thing I wanted to say to like I know it's white people, other blacks that may boost up, or like punctuate the racism, but I do think you have to be smart because it is still out there. Yes, Oreos. Yes, and they are running rapid for some reason. I can't stand them, but so it is a side there too, which I don't know what be wrong with them, but I agree. I just want to make that point.
Well, that's what's up. No, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being such a good sport with everything. But yeah, I'm not gonna keep you. I'm not gonna hold you. We're gonna shut this down. Bring back Nathaniel back up. But I appreciate you so much, and you're welcome up here anytime. All right. Have a good night, love. All right. All right. That's what's up. Yeah, you guys. This topic is a sensitive one, and I get it, and I try to handle it with the proper care. At the same time, I'm very passionate, and I know our worth, I know our value as a group. And so when I don't see us operating in that, it is frustrating. It is frustrating. But here's the reality. No matter what you believe, systemic racism, white privilege, white supremacy, all those things fall at the feet of a united group of black people, period. All of it. All of it submits to a united group of black people. And I think that's the power. And then that's why there's such a concerted effort to keep that division. And so, believe what you want. I'm just telling you what defeats that, right? I'm a solution-based guy. I don't like, I hear the explanations. I see we go from complaining to explaining and then solving. But you can't tell me that I'm at the disadvantage of any, because I'm not. You could create your own privilege, right? You could do, essentially, you guys, you could do exactly the same things that you're complaining white people are doing. You can create the same privileges that they create for themselves. You talk about how they spend money in their schools and their neighborhoods. You can do the same thing, but it takes something. You got to do something to get to that, though. Half of us don't even want to be in the neighborhoods with other black folks. Let's stop. We got to be honest. No one likes the honesty game because it hurts a little bit on the inside, right? It hurts a little bit on the inside. People say the white man's ice is colder. Listen, all right? But then you act like you can't make cold ice. And that's the part that I have an issue with. That we complain so much about how they're putting ice in their cup. And you have the same ability to do the exact same thing. That's all. There was a black business that I was going to, and then I received the service and the treatment, and I stopped going there. And the first thing I said was, see, now this is when y'all get mad and say that we don't support business. Nah, get it together. You got to get it together. You got to compete. You got to compete properly. Compete properly. That's the name of the game. Again, we don't want to do the things that we're responsible for doing. All these brothers abandoning their homes and not taking care of their kids. That's a we problem. That's a we problem. Okay? You can say whatever you want to say about how the history, I get it. But you have the power to do something about it now. Right? So those excuses are only as good as yesterday. At some point, the past has to be the past. You have to leave it there. There's no way around it, you guys. At some point, you got to do something about it. I remember drove on the interstate. I blew all 4 tires on my car. I could have sat there and talked about how this thing is keeping me, and this thing is unfair. I didn't ask for that. I didn't deserve that. I couldn't afford that. I could sit there and marvel in that sorrow, or I could do something about it. And I think it's not to say I'm reliving that moment as we talk about it. I never forgot that moment. That moment pained me. It caused me trauma. And I'm not making light of it or trying to compare, right? This is not a comparison. What I'm saying is you can stay in something or you can get out of something. All right. You can reminisce on something or you can progress through something. No matter what happens, you got to go forward. There's just no way around it. At some point, we got to pull resources out, put resources within. There's no other option. It just is what it is. That is the next step. Whether you like it or not, there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. The next step is the next step, whether you like it or not. It's on us. Period. Let me bring up Nathaniel real quick for the final words, you guys, and I'm gonna shut it down. All right. Someone says real quick, that sounds like Tatum because he seems to hate blacks for his shortcoming. What? I don't understand. So that sounds like Tatum because he seems to hate blacks for his shortcoming. No matter what happened versus what still is happening. No matter what happened versus what's still happening, what are you going to do about it? The whole point is, what are you going to do about it? It's unfair. I get it. What are you going to do about it? I know the answer. What you're saying is you're complaining. The white man is still beating on us. Nate, what are you supposed to do? Nate, they still getting on us. Okay, I got an answer. I know what to do. I know what to do. What are you going to do about it? Yeah, they're always, you know why it's a problem, how it's going to be a problem? Nobody wants to be at the bottom, you guys. Right now, we're at the bottom. And this is a zero-sum game. What does that mean? This is a zero-sum game in this country that we're in. Meaning that there's only 100% of the pie. Okay? Black people only have 5% of that pie. And if we get more percent of that pie, you're taking that pie from somebody else. Power cannot be created nor destroyed. Okay? This is the game. Nobody wants you on the top because then they have to become on the bottom. It's like Jenga. All right? Jenga, you got the whole structure, right? What do? You're pulling pieces from the middle and you're putting it on the top. At some point in time, though, the top becomes the bottom. The people at the top don't want to move. You guys, they're not giving up their space. They're not going to give it up to you because they feel sorry for you, because it's the right thing to do. See, you guys live in la effing land. You're like, hey, guess what? It's fair. It's the right thing to do. You're right. It is the right thing to do. And they're not going to do it. And they're not going to do it. Oh, the NFL and the NBA, all of us are black, but the owners are all white. What do you want them to do? You want them to give up billions of shares of their company earnings to make you feel? They're not going to do it, you guys. So what do? You should exit stage left and start your own league. That would be common sense. But the money. But the money. But the money. You know, a wise man told this story and said, I could take you to the top of all the land and show you all these things. I give you all these things if you just submit to me. You guys, you don't have to take the offer. And when Ice Cube was creating his own league, his own black league for football or whatever, I think it was basketball, people didn't want to support and sign up. See, the means are there. The support is missing. Right? Everybody, we got black businesses. What? Candles and oil and dashikis? No. Those aren't businesses. All right? Those are hustles. All right? We need essential businesses. So again, you don't want to play the game. All right? So when you make a statement like, what did happen to what currently happens? No. What should we be doing now? Okay? What should we be doing now? And that is how we move the needle forward. You know, just listen to Malcolm. Malcolm told you exactly what to do. Y'all still didn't do it. All right. Nate, let me bring you up, man, because I can talk. I can run my mouth for hours, brother. Let me get your closing statements. Someone said power is destroyed routinely. That's the game, baby. That's the game. That's the game. That's the game of power. You can complain about it or you can play the game. That's the game. Why are we complaining about the game? That's the game. It's ruthless. It's ruthless. I don't understand why people are complaining about how ruthless the game is. Nobody wants to be on the bottom. The people on top who stole their spot, who powered through their spot, raped and pillaged to get the spot, you want them to give it up? They said you got to get it in blood. They said take it. Take it. And you don't even have to fight for it. You just take your money out. You guys, you take your money out. You guys, black folks, we are the economy here. We're $1 trillion spenders. We are number one consumers in this country. Okay? We just have to stop spending our money and shut things down. You know? But we don't want to make the sacrifice because it's inconvenient. Sacrifice is inconvenient. You know? And until we're willing to become uncomfortable, it's just easier to complain. I get it. I'm not mad. Some of y'all are not built for the war. Some of y'all not built for the sacrifice. Some of y'all not built for the struggle. Some of y'all can't go a month without buying Jordan tennis shoes, let alone getting your hair done or getting your nail done. Some of y'all can't do. It's easy to boycott Target. Boycott some companies and some businesses that you feel you need to have. Because I remember when that COVID check was coming out and it was COVID season, there was a line wrapped around Foot Locker. I remember. I don't forget. Okay, during COVID and that chicken sandwich came out at was it church? What was it? That chicken sandwich came out, Popeyes, and y'all were wrapped around the block for a damn sandwich. So we are more than capable of putting in the work, but it's what we want. It's the work we want to do, and that's the problem. The work we don't want to do, we're not trying to do it. Nate, let me bring you up, brother. I'm sorry. I just get to.
No, you good, brother. You good. I'm listening to everything that you said there. One of the things I did hear you say that really, really struck me is that we have the power. Somebody have to be on the bottom. Look how long these people have been on top. And you said they stole it, right? And a lot of people don't really understand. They gave us our 40 acres and our mule. We even have it today. They gave us 40 hours on the job and made our black asses the mule. You know what I'm saying? That's the 40 acres and the mule they gave us, okay? So my problem is this right here. The same people that told us that the Bible is a religious book is the same people that told us we was Africa, but they can't tell us what part of Africa we came from, because Ham is the progenitor of the dark races, okay? And this is the only way I know how to describe this, and for us to all come back together as one, okay? Ham was the progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negro. Now you can go get almost any dictionary and look up Ham and find out who Ham was, and it'll tell you Ham was the progenitor of the Africans. We're not Africans. We're from Shem, okay? We are the children that God chose. God's hair is nappy. Jesus Christ is dark-skinned with nappy hair. If Jesus was walking the earth today, they would call him a nigga. Okay, so here's the thing. Our problem is, it's real talk. Our problem is we have tried everything. And I'm with you on that. Niggas tied around buildings. If they gave us 75,450,000,000 a piece, nigga, they will put up some Jordans, cost exactly that amount, and niggas go spend it buying a pair of Jordans out the first one to get them. You feel what I'm saying? So those ain't the things that we are in hell. We've been living in hell for a long time. Okay? And to show you how bad it is, and the only way I can describe this power that we can have is through the Bible. Like, a lot of people think they're gonna die and go to hell. No, we already in hell. This is hell right here. Okay? And what's gonna happen is when the time comes, the Most High said He's gonna take hell and death and throw it into the lake of fire. Well, how is hell gonna be thrown into the lake of fire? Because our people don't want to submit to God and come back to Him. He says He's gonna destroy 2/3 of His people. So that's gonna be a hell of a problem. What are we really looking for? Do we really want money? Is that what we really want? Money? Or do we want power that God gives us, that He gave us a long time ago? So we can only go back to the past. Just think about Greenwood. You brought up Greenwood earlier, right? Go back and think about Greenwood. The power. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma, like I said. The power, that's all I ever heard of. And when I growed up going to black stores and black this and black that. Now I can't find a black store to go to unless it's an India person running it. You know what I'm saying? East Indian. You know what I'm saying? These are the things that we as a people go through. But we have tried everything, right? But we haven't tried, go back to our God and tried him. That's the one thing we have not done as a people. All the slaves in South America, all the slaves in North America, all the slaves that God placed all over the world. Why? Because we hard-headed. My people is a stiff-necked, hard-headed, lack of no respect people. And that's who we are. We hate each other. When he said, love your brother. How can you say you love me when you don't even love your own brother, who you see every day? And these are the things that's hurting us. And so long as we keep doing the same old thing, I'm gonna say this here. It's the same thing that when our young black men and women get killed and hung and everything, it's never gonna stop. It's never gonna stop until we come back to our God. Okay? Not only that, but watch this here. This is cold-blooded here. Can you tell me the difference between a housewife today and a whore? Can you? Because they're dressed alike, right? All of them got on Christ. The pimp got a cross. The dog got on the cross. The church folk got on the cross. The pastor got on the cross. Everybody got on the cross. And a bunch of damn sinners. You know what I'm saying?
Listen. You gonna get me in trouble. No, you good. You good. I'm joking. I'm being facetious. It's true. I mean, it's chaos, man, and we're out of order.
It is.
You know what I mean? It's chaos, and the world is out of order. We're out of order, and it's, you know, there's so much, like you said, there's layers. I won't say layers. There's levels to this conversation, right?
Yeah.
And what you're talking about is I stop at a certain level, a certain layer, but the truth of it all, it's spiritual, right? That's the foundational problem where you're getting at, and you're here, and I'm still a little bit surface level with the conversation. But the reality is, it's a spiritual matter, and for those who understand it. It's almost as if one would argue we're under some type of curse, because some of the things that are happening, it's so unbelievably silly how you could show truth, speak truth, provide evidence, and it's almost like people just don't see it. They can't see it, and they can't shake it. And I was telling a friend of mine this, you know, I said, man, you could tell this is a spiritual problem, because it's almost like people are walking around with their eyes wide shut. And no matter what proof you give them or what you show them, and you could put it right in front of their face, and it's like it doesn't move them, shake them. They can't break free of the brainwashing. And the brainwashing is always done subconsciously. We know the subconscious mind is the spirit mind. And listen, I'm not going to push it too further, because we already at 3 hours and 30 minutes, man. We're going to save some of these gems.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this one more for you. And I want you to take my phone number down.
You gotta drop it in the chat, or email it to me, so we don't put it on the.
I email it to you.
Yeah, email it to me.
And you can go research this. It says that we hung our hearts on a willow tree. Okay. All down south, this literally took place, but it was written thousands of years ago by King David, right? And then it goes on and says that they asked us to sing them one of them old hymns. What do our people always doing? Singing and entertaining the so-called white man. That's what we've been doing, dancing, tap dancing, violin, playing everything, just entertaining them. So it says that they have created us to entertain them. Football, basketball, and y'all brought it up. The thing that we need to do is, if we could trust one another, there lies the answer for today. If we could trust one another and instead of going to White River, buying a fish that ain't no good for $10, and then going, your brother got the same fish, and he said, brother, I'm gonna let you have it for $8. What's wrong with it? But you didn't ask White River what was wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? That is our problem. There lies our problem right there. If we would come together, we can conquer this nation. And remember, and it does say that when the righteous, who we are, is on top, the earth rejoices. But when the wicked is in rulership, ain't everybody crying right about now? I mean, to say his own people crying. You know what I'm saying? So these are things, just say some of the words, and it'll pop up just right, and then it take you to the KJV or the GNT or the NLT or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of, they have did this to us right here. It's right here. Spiritually, they have taken away our spirit. And that's the problem. That's the reason why I love the word that you use. Eyes wide shut. I yield, my brother.
Hey, my brother, I appreciate you dropping them gems, man. I appreciate you. As always, yeah. We're gonna link up and chop it up. We're gonna have to make a special stream just for a separate conversation we can have.
Yes,
you know what I mean? And that way we can stay in that parameter. But I appreciate you 100% for coming up. Thank you for sharing that as well, man. And
brother,
you have a blessed night, brother.
You do the same. Be blessed. Don't be stressed. And I know you won't get in no mess. All right.
There you go.
All right. Love you, my brother.
Have a good night.
Love you. All right. You too.
All right. Man, great stream, great conversation. Very interesting perspectives that everybody brought up. I really just appreciate people just willing to come up and have the conversation and give their thoughts. And, sometimes back when I first started, I used to put this stuff up. I used to be like, before I bring anybody up, boom. You guys, we used to have the craziest discussions on this channel. And, I just love hearing people's perspective, and I just appreciate everyone's thoughts, and I've had some of y'all who've been here from the beginning. Some of the interesting, we had a lady last week, she came up with the mask on, and I had a brother had one, what's his name? Conscious Cast or something. Had one guy, we thought he was up in the mountains. We just never know who's coming up. But man, I just appreciate the people willing to come and just share their perspective and give their knowledge. And you don't have to agree with everything that people say. That's not what it's about. But you learn, and there's been plenty of times on streams where I've had a chance to learn and take on some new perspectives and things like that. So I love it, man. I love it. At the end of the day, just like the previous caller just stated, you guys, this isn't talk about conquering and all that. It's not about that. What it is about is that we don't have to, what people call this, white supremacy. Yeah. It's think of it like this. It's a team competition. Okay. And you could say team white supremacy, whatever makes you feel good. Okay. But you cannot defeat that system that you're referring to the way the game we're playing now. It doesn't work that way. It'll never happen. It won't happen. Again, it's a team sport, and it isn't about conquering, but it is about leveling the playing field, meaning you want access to, again, some of those economic resources, that wealth. We are being number one consumers does not work. We need to go from consumers to producers. There needs to be balance. But no one is going to just create the balance because we ask for it. Unfortunately, people aren't that loving and honest. The people in power, got there ruthlessly. Some of it's old generation money, old wealth. They don't want to share. They're not going to. You got to earn it. That's the name of the game, you guys. It just is what it is. And I just think that we have to change our mindset and our perspective on how we look at the situation. All this complaining and, it's their fault. And yeah, I get it. However, shout out to you, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Shout out to Chicago. Shout out to you, Chicago Rilla. I didn't know he was in here, brother. Shout out to you. I think you can either complain or you can compete, you guys. That's my theory. We can do it to where the game field is leveled, where you see more balance, but you gotta fight for that. And the only way to fight for that is collectively. And we're not collectively fighting. And therefore, you collectively don't get shit. And that's just how the game is. I didn't make the rules, but I do know how to play the game. I'll be the coach. Y'all want to join the team? Anyways, y'all, great stream. We're going to end it tonight, 3 hours, 30 minutes. Pretty good. We did good. Shout out to everybody who supported the stream tonight. I really appreciate it. Shout out to the new members. You guys are a blessing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Shout out to Jubilee for letting us use their content. Technically, they shut us down. Hopefully, they don't give us no problem on the back end after the stream is complete. What else? Thank you for the guests that came up, shared their thoughts. I really appreciate it. Shout out to our special guest. She took the bonnet off, came up, and gave her thoughts. I really appreciate that. Just people are honest and being transparent. Nothing but love. Very, very difficult conversation to have sometimes, but I appreciate the maturity of everybody in the chat. It was cool. So we'll see what the comments are like under the video. You guys, let me know your thoughts. When you get done with this, you got to run it back and see how people are feeling in the comments. But thank you to my moderators. Thank you for everybody that came up, and thank you for the support and the members. I really appreciate you guys. And with that being said, let these truths find you where the lies have left you. Good night, and God bless.